Shirley, Leung. We'll talk AI and journalism, new lows in American trust in media, and this year's Globe Summit.
I'm Andrea Cabral, in for Jim Browdy. Then we open the lines to talk about ICE's continued cruelty being committed daily in all of our names. Outrage sparked by images of violence and raids in L.A., Chicago, locally in Framingham, and at an Alston car wash. The head of a college Republican group is taking credit for that last raid, and it has us thinking, again, about the cruelty of this political moment and what we can all do about it. Call or text next on the 11 o'clock hour of BPR and GBH and NEPM, live from the BPL.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. The election interference criminal case in Georgia against President Trump and several others will move ahead after a new prosecutor was appointed before today's deadline. Alex Helmick from member station WABE reports.
Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis originally brought the massive RICO case, but was removed by a Georgia court for her personal relationship with a special prosecutor. The Prosecuting Attorney's Council of Georgia Executive Director Pete Skandalakis was ordered to appoint a new prosecutor, but each one he approached respectfully declined. Skandalakis said that dismissal at this point was not the right course of action and has named himself to lead the case and perform what he called a comprehensive review to determine how to proceed. In a statement, the president's lead defense counsel, Steve Sadow, calls the case a politically charged prosecution and says that a review of the facts will lead to dismissal. For NPR News, I'm Alex Helmick in Atlanta.
President Trump says he's asking the Justice Department to investigate convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's connection with several people and entities. That includes former President Bill Clinton, as well as J.P. Morgan and Chase Banks. His post on social media today comes ahead of a House vote to release all files from the Epstein investigation. Republican leaders have agreed to bring it to the floor next week. The Trump administration is planning a special immigration enforcement operation in Charlotte, North Carolina. State Representative Aisha Dew is pushing back against the move.
This is a safe city. Our crime rates have gone down since the previous year. This is just another something out of the playbook. When you look at Washington, D.C., the National Guard was picking up litter. So if they want people here to help us pick up litter, I think we've got that covered as well.
Officials say Customs and Border Protection agents may be deployed as early as this weekend. Two classic snacks will look different in a couple of weeks. Some Doritos and Cheetos are losing their bright orange color. NPR's Kristen Wright reports their maker says it's going to stop using artificial dyes.
The new Doritos and Cheetos are called Simply Naked. PepsiCo, which makes the snacks, says they're made with no dyes or artificial flavors, and so they're lighter in color instead of bright orange. Synthetic food dyes have been under extra scrutiny as the federal government's Make America Healthy Again initiative urges companies to get rid of them. Kraft Heinz and General Mills announced earlier this year they're planning to remove artificial dyes from U.S. products. In April, PepsiCo said it would speed up its plan to shift to natural ingredients. The new Cheetos and Doritos roll out December 1st, although PepsiCo says you'll still be able to buy the original snacks for the time being. Kristen Wright, NPR News, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow was down 306 points. This is NPR News in Washington.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. A career information session with the Department of Homeland Security at the College of the Holy Cross was moved online this week after activists called on students and community members to protest. Worcester Indivisible took to social media to call for a demonstration yesterday outside the hall where the session was supposed to take place, saying it signaled Holy Cross's complicity with the Trump administration's policies towards immigrants. Holy Cross says the session was for students who are interested in careers with the Department of Homeland Security in general and not necessarily ICE. And the school says Homeland Security representatives have been invited to career information sessions for each of the past 6 years. The swearing-in ceremony for Boston Mayor Michelle Wu's second term is set for January 5th at Boston Symphony Hall. NBC reports the ceremony will also include the swearing-in of the Boston City Council. Wu's inauguration committee, which is chaired by her campaign manager, Julie Leven, also announced that Jessica Pierre is leaving her position as the administration's chief communications officer to work as the inauguration's creative executive producer. In sports, last night's Patriots win gives them the best record in the NFL this season so far, 9-2. They have 9 days to rest up to get ready for the Bengals in Cincinnati. Bruins and Celtics both off tonight as well. In the forecast, clouding up this afternoon, high in the upper 40s. We are at 42 degrees in Boston right now, 44 in Springfield. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Lodestar Foundation, inspired by the principle that helping those in need is a path to a happier, healthier, and more meaningful life. Learn more at lodestarfoundation.org. This is NPR.
Welcome to BPR and GBH and NEPM. I am Marjorie Egan. Jim Browdy has a day off. I'm joined by former Massachusetts Secretary of Public Safety, Andrea Cabral. Hello, Andrea. Hi. We are back here finally at the library, and we are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. A couple of programming notes. The mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu, is going to be with us November 18th here at the library. She'll be here from 12 to 1 taking our questions and yours. And Yo-Yo Ma, a week from today, is going to be performing right here at the Boston Public Library. That's incredible. He's one of the great cellists of all time. He's going to be right here at the library. We're thrilled about that. But it is now time for our weekly media analysis segment, Press Play. We've got two heavy hitters with us here, joining us, and thank you very much for joining us at BPR. Boston Globe Executive Editor Nancy Barnes, thank you very much for joining us. And also with us, and you know her, she's been with us forever, Boston Globe business columnist Shirley Leung, host of the podcast, the great podcast, Say More. Thank you very much for coming in. So let's start with you, Nancy Barnes. You're running the show over there. Tell us about this fantastic Globe Summit. What's it about, and who's going to be there?
The summit is all about bringing some of the biggest thinkers in Boston to the community. They're going to be on stage with us talking about some of the biggest, we call it the revolutionary ideas that are in the ecosystem right now. It's really all about our ability to connect more directly with the community, one-on-one and in person. So my panel, I'll kick it off. I have a panel with 3 healthcare CEOs. I'm really excited about it. We're going to, as you all know, hospitals are part of the heart of the Massachusetts ecosystem and economy. We're going to talk about the future of research, what lies ahead with all of the threats to NIH, the hopes that they have. They're still very, very hopeful about what's going on, some of the great research that's underway, and then some of the things that they're worried about. But mostly it'll be a hopeful note, and we're happy to bring that conversation to the public.
So how many other types and topics do you expect to have at the summit? And I also have a question, I'll let you answer that, but I also have a question about the notion of a revolutionary idea. So how many other topics and types of people are we going to see?
I think we have about 28 panels. We have, and I think we have 21 Globe moderators. And so I'm moderating a panel as well. I think I've talked about having Ben Cohen on. He's the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's. He'll be coming down from Vermont.
Is he the one that left?
No, Jerry left, Ben stayed,
Ben is still there.
And Ben is still there, and he'll be talking about kind of this, is corporate activism dead? As you know, he founded this company. He wanted ice cream to change the world, but in more ways than one. Not only good ice cream, but also he took the profits and they plowed it into social activism, social justice. And right now he's having a fight with the current owner. They long ago sold the company, and he's trying to, bring corporate activism back. But we have a lot of kind of, familiar lines and faces from the Globe. We who's the DC bureau chief. She'll be on stage with the Onion CEO, Ben Collins. Meredith Goldstein, also another regular on BPR.
Yeah, she solves all our love problems.
That's right. So Love Letters columnist and podcast host. She's going to be interviewing Nantucket author Ellen Hildebrand. And of course, we're going to have Governor Healy as well, talking about basketball. She was a point guard for Harvard, and also she's being in conversation with Celtics Vice President Allison Feaster, another women's, I think she played for the WNBA as well.
Yeah,
so.
she did.
And Ken Casey, you got Ken Casey
dropped
to talk about the activism that you can put into your music. It's always been revolutionary and activist on some level, so that should be good.
Yeah, so we're at the House of Blues. You can get tickets. I think it's Boston. Is it Globe? Wait, I can't screw this up. Globe.com/summit.
Yep.
Actually, for all listeners, we have a free code for you.
Oh, free code. What's the free code, Shirley?
It's BPR free. And if you use that, you can get a free one-day ticket. You could also join in person. It's November 18th and 19th. I think it's Tuesday and Wednesday. Also, you can join online for free as well, virtually.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat.
Great.
And you got Ellen Hildebrand who wrote all those novels about Nantucket, and the one that was just with Nicole Kidman. I saw that when I had COVID. It was great. Really great entertainment for a couple of days.
Don't tell anybody, I've read one or two of those novels as well.
What?
Of course. I need beach reading.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you said you were in.
No.
So
I
didn't
Really?
The other side of Nancy Barnes.
I know. I did
You
not
need to
know
escape
that.
the world every now and then.
Wow.
Okay. And of course, Liev Schreiber was in it too, and he was in Stardust Spotlight, the great piece about the. You brought us some presents. You want to tell us about the presents?
Yes. Here, do you want to give one to Marge?
Sure.
I was feeling kind of
Swag.
bad.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
Globe swag.
Thank you.
Because I was feeling kind of bad because I've been on this show for 12 years and I never brought them swag. Only when Nancy comes. Only when Nancy comes.
Okay.
You guys get the good stuff.
Better late
you
than
got
never.
You got a makeup bag, which I've never seen, for the estrogen surge.
Oh, this is great. Well, we're going to talk at the end of the show. We're going to talk
one of
about
those.
nighttime routines.
We spend a lot of time talking about makeup.
I want one of those too.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So what is the idea of this? Is Bill McKibben, by the way, he's going to be there too. One of the great environmentalists
One of my
of all
favorite people
times.
on the face of the earth. He's changed the way I approach citizenship.
So you tell us again at the end everything we do if people want to get on there. But you mentioned the revolutionary idea thing, right?
Yeah, and what I wanted to ask you is, there's the notion of revolution just simply in the ushering of unprecedented change or change never seen before. But then there's revolution as in revolt. Which of those lanes is the summit going to travel in? Are you talking about the things we should be doing to really cause a revolution, or are you just talking about revolutionary change, or some combination of the two?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, I kind of meant it to be.
I figured that. Obviously, revolutionary ideas goes back to the history and the founding of Massachusetts and the country. And when I came here to Boston, one of the things that excited me was that it's an intellectual capital of the world, really, here, Massachusetts, Cambridge, et cetera. And so we're looking into ideas that can change the world, change leaders, thought leaders. So we're not necessarily fomenting revolt. We want to bring forth ideas that can revolutionize science, medicine, the way we talk to each other, business, change makers and thought leaders.
And Shirley, you did a column on what actually constitutes a revolutionary idea. So what answer did you arrive at by the end of the column?
Well, I think it's coming up with an idea. I mean, it's what everyone thinks about, coming up with an idea that no one else has thought about, or having the courage to pursue an idea, right? That people said, you can't do this, but there is an intractable problem, and you're just persistent about it, and I think we wanted to kind of talk about this and use this as a theme, because I think everyone feels a little, especially here in Massachusetts, they feel a little beaten down, and we want to remind people that you have agency, and you've had Doris Kearns Goodwin on a lot of times, and she talks about this, right? She talks about that, democracy is a living breathing thing. It's not something
requires participation and engagement.
Exactly. Yeah. And so this is what Globe Summit is all about. I mean, it's our biggest live journalism event of the year. We expect a few hundred people there in person, and also probably hundreds online as well.
So, in Nancy Barnes, I'm dying to ask you about this whole thing with press trust, which drives me crazy, especially, you spent a career in newspapers, with NPR, places that people think they can put a lot of trust in, at least historically. And now every time I open the newspaper or wherever I'm reading my stuff, I'm getting more stuff about lack of press trust. It drives me crazy. We don't really divide. What's the media? Is it cable TV? Is it a newspaper? Is it National Public Radio? What is it? But what do you think about this lack of press trust, particularly from young people?
So lack of trust in the press has been a problem for many, many years. And I want to talk about the different media types. I think it's particularly problematic now for a couple of reasons. One is that we are more divided into echo chambers than ever before. We get our news and information from whatever place often tells us the news the way we want to hear it, as opposed to everybody hearing the same news, sometimes from the divides us. I also think, look, we have an administration that started the first administration calling the press the enemies of the people, and there is a strategy to undermine the press in order to undermine the credibility of the work that we're doing, so that if we're telling the truth, it might be suspect. And we need to battle that on every front. We battle it every day in all of our Globe products. We also need to go to all the places where people are now consuming information. So when I think of the media, we might traditionally think about TV, and we might traditionally think about newspapers or our website. But podcasts, TikTok, all this, some of the social media sites are more powerful than not. I have daughters in their 30s, and one of them is getting her news from TikTok now. So we have to be where they are, so that if there's bad information in those channels, that we are there with good information, with people who they can relate to, and with information that they can trust, and it's a battle day by day.
So one of the things that I hear all the time, my friends, my family, other people that I talk to, the frustration that people have, which I think leads to the distrust in media, is they feel as though the sense of urgency isn't being conveyed in media outlets. Now, part of that depends on where you go to get your media. If you're going to places that aren't reporting it urgently, but there is a sense that generally the house is on fire, and people are saying, okay, I'll get up and leave when the commercial comes on, and that they want journalism to express that more explicitly. I know I personally do. And so what I wonder is, how do you cover a White House that accounts for probably half of the news coming to us, right? Comes out of federal government and the White House, where lying is routine. How do you cover something that is a lie without appearing to say every single day, this is a lie? And I think there's a frustration among people who believe that it's a lie, that they're not seeing the word lie on the front page of the paper. Similarly, those that believe that everything coming out is the truth don't want you to ever say that anyone in the White House lies. That challenge, to me, in my over a century of living, is unprecedented for journalism to confront that level of untruthfulness. And I'm wondering how you both do it, as a columnist and as an editor.
First. Well, I think one of the things you have to do, I try to do this in my column, is that you try to report things out. You just don't express your own opinion. You try to, you call it if it's a lie, you call it out right away, but it is very, very hard. I mean, Nancy, in her position, you deal with this a lot more. You probably think about this every single day. I mean, it is really hard, because on one hand, I think, we have to report things. We can't ignore it. We have to report what's happening in the Trump White House. I mean, I do think as a whole, the media is doing a better job as compared to, the first administration.
Term, yeah.
We are doing a better job. And actually, I feel like some people think that we're we've gone too far, that we keep on saying the house is on fire. Maybe and if you keep saying that, then people won't believe. People's like, is it really on a house of fire? Why is it every day is it on fire? But maybe you'll have a better response.
Journalistically, it feels like the house is on fire because we have so many stories that we are chasing that are directly related to what's happening in Washington. So we do have 5 people in Washington. They don't cover Trump on a day in and day out basis. We usually take wire services for that. They're looking to cover issues that are happening as it affects Massachusetts, sometimes, and broader New England. Sometimes we are there covering directly what's happening, but we're trying to look for the story that nobody else has. I know this came up in the first administration. Do you call a lie a lie? What we try to do, and I think we do it much more effectively now, is when there's disinformation, call it a lie, misinformation, whatever, comes out and say, okay, here's what they said. This isn't exactly true, or this isn't true. Here's what the truth is. And we try to fact check in real time, and then in our stories and on the web. It can be challenging.
Because there's so much of it.
There's so much of it. And there's the notion of, a truth sandwich, right? You start with the truth. Here's what they said. You follow back up with the truth so that you're reinforcing what the facts are and people are hearing that. But it is, again, just it's a day-by-day in the trenches battle to make sure that the truth is getting out there, because otherwise you end up with, what were we hearing sometimes from different members of the administration? Well, you have your set of facts and I have my set of facts, and that's not true.
Right. Thank you, Kelly Conway.
But Andrew, it's so hard because I feel like it's so hard right now to cover Trump because I think some people just want to tune it out. They're tired.
But the other thing that drives me nuts, and because I come from newspapers and you come from newspapers and you're obviously a newspaper, is that I think there's a misunderstanding. A lot of the news comes from people who are sitting behind desks like this, who haven't been to the scene of the crime, who haven't been to the hearing, who haven't been anywhere. They're just sitting there as pundits. They don't really know what they're talking about because they haven't seen it. And so much of TikTok is all that. These are just people in their basement making comments on things. Whereas you just had a story in the Boston Globe. This is very time-consuming and very hard to do. Your Spotlight team went up to New Hampshire to talk about the Trump administration lying about an immigration raid. Tell people briefly about that story and how time-consuming and expensive that kind of reporting is.
Okay, so this was a story in which the DEA had said it had arrested dozens of members of the Sinaloa cartel running drugs through New England, and it was based in New Hampshire. And so we went out to fact check it because we're like, okay, do we really have that many people in our backyard who are part of this very dangerous cartel? And what we found were that everybody was a drug user, small level, nobody related to the cartel in any way. If they were related, there were a few people who were peddling, small amounts of cocaine that obviously had some connection through the cartel, but by and large, they were not members. It was a big, it was a big splash in order to draw attention to what the DEA is doing. And when you looked under the hood, you saw, okay, this is really a huge exaggeration. We had to go pull all the court files. We went and talked to an enormous number of law enforcement agencies. We talked to a lot of individuals. We talked to parents. There was one parent, I don't have the quote exactly right. It was one of my favorite quotes of all time. My son is just whatever, a dumbass. That's pretty much what he said.
Tough quote from Dad.
I know. But it was, it pretty much spoke to the nature of the story. That these are people who, some of them were sad figures who were addicted to drugs, who were, peddling or using in small ways, but they were not part of a big cartel.
And no one was held on bail. No one, for a serious felony, you're going to get held.
Exactly. But it's a lot of work to do. That legwork takes a lot of time.
A lot of time, and leather, what do we used to call it? Shoe leather reporting.
Yeah, right.
And also, if you make a mistake, unlike what people say on X, which isn't true half the time, or what they say on Fox, which isn't true half the time, or maybe a quarter of the time. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there's some penalty to pay for it. You can get sued and get in a lot of trouble in newspapers. I don't think people understand that. I am biased, I must admit.
Think what's being counted on is the Steve Bannon thing, flood the zone with excrement.
That's right.
You can't cover it all. You don't have the resources to do that every single day, because if you did, you'd turn up exactly what you turned up practically every single day. They know that.
Well, we pick and choose what stories we go after. You can't tackle anything. But that one, we looked at it, it's like, are there really that many members of the cartel in our backyard? If there are, let's go tell that story.
Right.
And they were not.
Right.
How worried should we be about AI?
Yeah.
Very worried.
I'm worried.
Well, I mean, there are some good things about AI too, but it's going to rock our world. It already is rocking our world, AI. And maybe Nancy, you could talk about. I mean, Nancy, you're right in the middle of all this AI stuff.
Well, it is wild to see now, like this headline and article were written without the assistance from generative AI. This is the Denver Post piece that talks about it being a newsroom tool. But when you see that, you go, oh, now they have to put that in there because there's a good chance that it is.
Yeah. So AI can be dangerous, and it is going to rock our world. I have a daughter who does social media advertising, and it's already changing, the jobs that are out there and the type of work that is available to her. And this is happening in industries all across the world, right? In the journalism industry, I'm looking at it as an opportunity. We have a lot of work that is done that is labor-intensive, that isn't high-end journalism, like Shirley produces. We can use AI to, it suggests headlines. A human being will review those headlines and decide what they like. It might write summaries, but in particular, it can scrape data. Data is hugely important. It's an underlying basis of so many stories, and especially, it can not just scrape, but sort data. So many stories that we do in the investigative team. You can use AI to speed up video editing and audio editing. So I'm looking at it as an opportunity to free some of the journalists up from the things that are labor-intensive, that aren't very rewarding, and allow them to do more of the work that they do best. That's the big hope. It is more dangerous, I think, in the visual field, where so much can be just the fake videos and fake photos that come out right now look so real that it's hard to debunk them. And so we're being very cautious to stay away from that, at least in journalism, visual journalism.
Okay, that's probably about all we have time to cover for today.
Squeeze in real quick. How do people get in touch if they want to go to the summit? What do they do real quick?
And the code.
Globe.com/summit and BPR free.
BPR free.
You heard it here
We
first.
like that. We like that.
Free BPR. Thank you both very much. We've been speaking with Boston Globe business columnist Shirley Leung and her boss, Boston Globe executive editor Nancy Barnes, for our Friday media analysis segment, Press Play. Coming up after this quick break, we're opening phone and text lines, your reactions to this BU college Republican claiming credit for a recent ICE raid. And a look in the mirror at ourselves. Are we doing enough to confront the cruelty of this moment and this administration? I'm Andrea Cabral. I'm in for Jim Browdy. She's Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM, live from the BPL and streaming on youtube.com/GBH News.
Astronauts know when they're tethered to the space station floating in space that a lot can go wrong.
I felt something cold and wet on the back of my head. Water. There shouldn't be any reason why water is present inside the spacesuit.
Living and working at the International Space Station, next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Forge Heat Pumps in Newton. Forge's in-house team designs and installs all-in-one heat pump systems that deliver heating and cooling year-round. Details at forgeheatpumps.com. And Brown University pre-college programs, where academically motivated high school students experience college life, nurture their diverse interests, and make new friends. Applications for summer 2026 open January 14th. precollege.brown.edu.
You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Jim has the day off. I'm here, Marjorie Egan, and I'm here with Andrea Cabral, the former Massachusetts Secretary of Public Safety. Hello again, Andrea.
Hello, Marjorie.
We are live from the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. The mayor of Boston will be with us November 18th, 12 to 1, and Yo-Yo Ma will be here at the library November 19th, the next day, performing here at the library. So it is impossible to ignore the reality. President Trump's masked ICE goons are in our communities, from LA to Chicago. They're in Alston and Springfield and Somerville and Fitchburg. We're going to talk about Alston in a second. There's another aspect to the raids that has us thinking about them today, though. The story of the president of the BU College Republicans claiming credit for calling in an ICE raid November 4th at a car wash in Alston. My favorite car wash, as a matter of fact, is called a spa for your car. It's a really great car wash. In a Twitter post, Zachary Siegel said he had been, quote, calling ICE for months on end, quote, to detain these criminals, unquote. 5 women and 4 men were detained in the raid, and according to their attorneys, many of them hold legal status and valid work permits. And by the way, it is not you don't become a criminal by coming across the border. It's a civil offense, not a criminal offense. But anyway, this story got a lot of traction on the Globe. I think it's up to like 700 comments, which is a huge amount of comments. Most of them trashing Mr. Siegel over there.
Yeah. Well deserved.
Yeah. So we want to know at 877-301-8970, 877-301-8970. Beyond the facts of this specific incident, or you're free to talk about this, especially if you've been at that car wash, at what point do we need to start blaming ourselves as much as this BU kid? These raids are being carried out in our name, with our permission. You can show up at the No Kings rally and feel good for the day, but what point do we look in the mirror and recognize that maybe it is not enough? ICE in our communities, pulling guns on people, pulling children from their parents' arms, causing a ruckus without any due process. I shouldn't say any. There is some due process sometimes, but it's rare. And people are entitled to due process, whether they're in the country, from another country, or whether they're American citizens. Give us a call. 877-301-8970 is the number. What do you think about this, Andrea?
Oh, we don't have enough time in the show for me to talk about what I could take up the rest of the show just talking about Siegel. But just to give people, an idea, it's the in-your-face cruelty, and it's the thuggishness. And, brown shirts are not really a thing of the past, right? It's happening right now in this country. That level of thuggishness, the wearing of masks. Our police departments, the members of law enforcement locally, they don't wear masks. Our state police and local police don't wear masks here or around the country. Some of the things that we're talking about is the most recently, the man who had the seizure, as they're trying to drag his wife from the car. He's holding the baby. They're on him. They're pressing on his neck. Ultimately, he ends up having a seizure. And this is because his wife was charged with stabbing a coworker. It was with a pair of scissors. She had an altercation with a coworker at her job. These are the hardened criminals. And the case is still pending, by the way. She hasn't been found guilty of anything. These are the hardened criminals that ICE is going after. And there are a number of stories like this. Holding a little girl, physically restraining a 5-year-old little girl outside of her house to lure her parents outside so you can arrest him. I'm going to remind everybody, this is a civil infraction. Being undocumented is a civil infraction. It is not a crime. What we're doing to people in the wake of alleged civil infractions is a crime. So as for Mr. Siegel, I think the comments on the Globe, I'm glad to see that the vast majority of them are saying this is unspeakable and wretched what this kid did, and then he bragged about it.
They're calling him a little twit. They're calling him a jerk, a big jerk. So one guy says he was born in Florida, which explains a lot. Sounds like he's a Stephen Miller wannabe. And by the way, we should point out that these people were taken away. There were 9 people there that were taken away. 4, I think it was 5 women and 4 men, or maybe vice versa. One of those women is in Texas. She's been taken to Texas. So, as I said, I've been to that car wash a million times. These are mostly young women and men, maybe they're in their 20s or 30s. Some they're cleaning the inside of your car, which they do there.
And many of them had legal status. It was right in their lockers. Their paperwork was right in their lockers, but their manager couldn't go and get it before they were taken.
So apparently 9 cars surrounded this car wash. They told all the customers to get lost, get out of here. Then they went in and they took these people away without a due process. This was November 4th. What's today? November 14th, 15th,
yes.
something like that. So for all this time, I would guess that some of these women are mothers. They've been away from their children. Some of these guys are fathers. They've been away from their children. This right here in Austin swooped in and dragged these people away at 9:30 in the morning. 4 of them are in Massachusetts. That's unusual because usually they ship people off. 4 of them are in Vermont, and 1 of them, like I said, is in Texas. Is this what you want the government of the United States to be doing, taking people out of car washes? And a couple of them have been here for 15 years.
And the face of this is every American to the rest of the world.
877-301. By the way, they've done a spectacular job on doing your car there. It's really nice. They can do the inside of your car. That's a big deal to me. You know what I mean? It's a big deal to Jim because he has mushrooms growing in his car, as we've discussed.
God.
It's really disgusting. 877-301-8970 is the number. Jeff in Newton.
Hi, Jeff.
What do you think?
Good morning. This is all our fault. On 2 occasions, we decided to elect an immoral, incompetent, racist fraud rather than entrust the country to a woman, and in one instance, a woman of color. This is someone who has taken children away from their parents and put them in a cage. His wife has opined that those children were better off because at least they were inside. This is someone who has run a fraud charity and most recently has decided to use his time to go to the Supreme Court to deny people who are primarily children, the elderly, and disabled adults SNAP benefits.
So are we doing enough, Jeff? Are we doing enough? Should we be doing more, or we're almost out of time here?
I think we need to do more.
Yep.
I have attended No Kings. I don't think it's enough. One thing I haven't heard people say is we should all be donating to the ACLU.
Jeff, I have to interrupt you only because we're up against a hard break. I apologize, but thank you very much for your call.
We're going to take a quick break. I'm Andrea Cabral in for Jim Browdy. She's Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. We're live from the BPL and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, grab your rosary and raisinets. Pope Leo has released his list of favorite films. Let's just say the Holy Father's taste is divinely eclectic. And in the spirit of being fair and balanced, we leave the halls of the Vatican and enter the infernal fashion world with a look at The Devil Wears Prada Part 2. We take on that and more on our Arts and Culture Week in Review today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Boston Ski and Tennis, helping families stay active and outdoors this winter, offering a range of winter sport products and services with locations in Newton and Westboro or online at bostonskiandtennis.com. And Minute Women Home Care, providing senior home care services to families in the Metro West Boston area for over 55 years. Services include dementia care, fall prevention, live-in, and 24-hour care. mwhomecare.com.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan and Andrea Cabral. We are here at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about news regarding ICE raids here in Massachusetts and really across the country. We're zeroing in on this one at this car wash in Alston, where 9 people were taken away at 9:30 in the morning. The people that were there to get their cars washed were told to basically get out of Dodge. Too bad for you. The number is 877-301-8970. 877-301-8970. I want to quickly mention with this kid, Zach Siegel, who apparently is interning for gubernatorial candidate Brian Shortsleeve. He wants to be, he's running for the Republican nomination to challenge Maura Healey, and he moderated this debate that Shortsleeve said. Meanwhile, this kid, who's a young Republican at BU, said in his little I think he was excited about the result that ICE had to his supposed...
He wanted credit for it.
Yeah. I have been calling ICE for months on end. This week they finally responded to my request to detain these criminals. As someone who lives in the neighborhood, I've seen how American jobs are being given away to those who have no right to be here. Pump up the numbers. That was his remark.
And as many people are pointing out in our texts and our calls, there's some question about whether or not he's a U.S. citizen. He grew up in London, right? He was born in Florida, which one presumably I think would make him a citizen, but he grew up in London, and he's back here. And someone else said, how is somebody from Britain the head of the college Republicans at BU? But it's just, I think it's the abject cruelty of all of this.
Yeah.
It is the cruelty and the bragging about it, and it does smack of the Nazism. It's sort of like taking films of everything you do, recording everything you do and being proud of it. And the question, as Marjorie has said, is we're not really meeting the moment of this cruelty. It's one of the things we faulted Germany and the rest of the world for not so long ago, and we're not meeting the moment any better.
Megan in Brighton, thank you for calling. Or is it Brighton? Yeah, it's Brighton. Hi, Megan. You're near the car wash.
I'm right near the car wash. Thank you for taking my call. I think that BU has some responsibility here as well. From what I understand, they're saying it's a free speech issue. I don't believe it's a free speech issue. I think it's an issue of privilege. I also think some of these people who are presumably parents are still incarcerated. They haven't been let out yet, even if they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, so they're still detained.
There's a lot of responsibility to go around here.
Yeah.
Thank you for the call. Thank you for that, Megan.
You know, speaking of meeting the moment, Andrea, I just want to mention this other story up at Holy Cross, which is a Catholic college. And by the way, I've been critical of the Catholic bishops for not speaking out strongly enough about immigration atrocities. Well, they finally have, and so is the Pope. But meanwhile, up in Holy Cross, kudos to these kids and faculty members up there who got upset that planned they were going to have these job recruitment things, or career information about. They were going to have people from the Department of Homeland Security. That's the one Kristi Noem runs. They were going to be up there at Holy Cross to talk to students about possible jobs, and the students and faculty revolted and said, we're going to protest against this. We're going to rally against this. I think the president up there seemed to meet the moment of a Jesuit college inviting the people that from Homeland Security.
Right. I think in hindsight, once they got the reaction, I think they then issued some statements that were more sort of cognizant of what they had done. The pushback to the protests has been, just so that people know, Department of ICE doesn't comprise all of the Department of Homeland Security. There are jobs for FEMA, where people really want to go and help in disaster, when there's been a disaster, or the Coast Guard. So that's very true, that there are other jobs that are available. But I think what the students are saying is, ICE's thuggery has so come to define the Department of Homeland Security that we don't want anything to do with you. And the rest of the agencies will suffer in terms of getting talent because you won't correct your cruel behavior.
I guess they're doing the informational sessions on Zoom now.
Yeah, well, good luck to them. Let's talk to Leo in Medford. Hi, Leo.
Hi, I'm just...
I'm sorry, it's Lo, not Leo. I misread that. I didn't have my glasses on, Lo. I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm just really hoping that the legal workers can sue that man for their lost wages and any legal fees for that protest debacle.
Unfortunately, that's probably unlikely.
Yeah.
I mean, BU's response that it's a free speech issue is correct in as much as anyone has the right to pick up the telephone and call and make an allegation, right? They're not public figures of people who are detained. So you could say that he defamed them, but chances are, A, he's judgment-proof, and B, he made a phone call, and there's never going to be any proof that what they did, they followed up specifically because he made the phone call. He's trying to take credit for it. I think Zach may get his comeuppance in terms of public opinion, and while he probably has a job with the young Republicans anywhere in the country, he might find a hard time getting a job elsewhere. Because everybody knows who he is now, and everybody knows what he's made of.
877-301-8970. We're talking about these over-the-top immigration raids. We've seen them all across the country. We saw some moms groups out there. I think it was in California? I think so, that they were running around with their cell phones, videotaping outside an elementary school. Let's go to Silas on Cape Cod. Hi, Silas.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good, thank you.
Hi. So I had this weird idea today. It might be a little crazy. But I admit that there's really nothing I feel like I can do. I've been to a few No Kings protests. They're always inspirational, but at the end of the day, I still have trouble figuring out what I personally can do to help. So I was thinking, what if you infiltrated from within?
How would you do that?
I got a job with ICE.
Yeah.
And I just... It's a really crazy idea, but if enough people did it, maybe you could make a small difference by targeting actual criminals and standing up for innocent people.
Well, you know what's interesting about that is that another texter just texted us and said that this person saw a post the other day that said you don't hear about the Proud Boys anymore because they're all ICE agents. And we've done stories on the show a lot about the infiltration of law enforcement by right-wing individuals, extremists, racists, and so forth. The idea isn't as crazy as you think. I think it just takes some time, and you'd have to do a fair amount of pretending. But you know what? I credit you for raising the idea, because thinking outside the box as to how we deal with this is exactly what's necessary, changing the way we view our institutions, each other, our capacity to change them, whether it's from within or from the outside. So thank you for the idea. You think about it a little bit more, and maybe you come up with a way that it can actually happen. That's the way we should all be thinking right now.
Yeah, you know what was interesting too? When you read comments on stories in newspapers, generally I don't do it because they're mostly nasty comments. It was surprising to me, and over 700 comments is a lot of interest in a particular story. Surprising to me that most of the people I read, at least, and I haven't done a scientific study, but most when I looked at these this morning and our staff looked at them, they were supporting the workers at the car wash. And they were ridiculing this kid from BU, calling him a little twit and a jerk and that kind of stuff. I was surprised by that because you didn't get the usual throw them all out of the country, deport them all kind of thing that you often get in immigration stories. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that's really a part of that is people who feel that way. It's not that there are fewer of them than the people who say throw them all out. I actually think there are a lot more people who feel the way what is being expressed in the Globe comments, what you're seeing in the Globe comments. They just don't take the time to write it out.
Yeah.
Haters take the time to write it out, to sit anonymously and write hateful things, right? They consider that time well spent. Other people think that is awful, I feel terrible about that, and then they sort of go on about their lives. And maybe there's a lesson there about speaking up, because you find that you are in the majority when you speak up. You find that there are a lot more people than you thought.
Rachel in Ipswich, thanks for calling.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi. I just want to say, first off, I have nothing but contempt for that student at Boston University. I can't imagine our life goal being to actually harm people. I mean, what are we teaching young people? Like, what these kids grew up hearing build the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, they're being destroyed morally. And I want to say that, so many of these people proclaim themselves to be religious. I mean, the whole foundation of the Christian faith is Jesus was a refugee. I mean, what the irony, the hypocrisy, this willful, this cruelty is just disgusting. And I specifically, you referenced the father having a seizure while I was dragging his wife out of their car, and he was holding their child. That broke me when I saw that on social media. I have a child with epilepsy, I know what it's like to live with, and to see a human being treated with absolute lack of regard for a very serious condition that could have led to his death. I mean, and that they had no regard for that. I think there was no medical assistance given him at all. People were screaming for them to, assist his father, and it's just like, in my core, I just look at this cruelty and I think, what has Trump unleashed? And ICE has to be stopped. They need to be unmasked. They need to be taken out of our communities, and they need to stop this war on immigrants.
Rachel, thank you for the call. People talk about what they can do. A lot of these people where the ICE has been in their areas for some time, they're taking action in their own communities. They're forming like these mothers groups I mentioned that are going out with their cell phones, and they're going to places where they think ICE is going to go. They alert people with whistles when they think ICE is going to show up. So we haven't had, at least around Boston that I know of, these certain places where they are every day, as far as I know. But that is some kind of action on the street. 877-301-8970. And when the previous caller, Rachel, was talking about religion, that's what some of the people up at Holy Cross are objecting to, that they're supposed to be a Catholic institution, and that they're supposed to be following the footsteps of Christianity, and there's nothing particularly Christian about dragging people off the street and throwing them in the back of cars.
Or any of this cruelty.
Yeah.
One of our anonymous texters says, good for Zach, and good for the national organization for backing him. It's legal and elections have consequences. I will say this. I agree with the last sentence. Elections do have consequences. So for the 90 million that did not vote, our anonymous texter thinks this is great, what Zach did.
But you're a lawyer. People are entitled to due process whether they're in the country legally or illegal.
That's absolutely
so
right.
it's not legal. It's a constitutional violation that the president's getting away from.
I thought he was talking about calling was legal. Like he didn't do anything illegal by calling.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. Taking them, spiriting them from the country without due process is not legal.
I mean, a lot of things that are happening right now are in violation of the United States Constitution, which, the president gets up there and says he's going to support and defend and support the United States Constitution, and he is not doing it. Kevin in Lakefield, thank you for calling.
Hi, Kevin.
How you doing?
Okay.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I hate to sound. It sounds somewhat pathetic, and I'm a little offended by my opinion as an American. But the reality is, I think a lot of people are just genuinely frightened that if they do something, if they stand out against it, then the way the system is getting so manipulated right now, I mean, what's going to happen to them? Are they going to become on some watch list? If they can grab an immigrant and deny their rights, or say, oh, this person's an immigrant, and deny their rights of due process, or any individual's rights of due process, then why can't they go after the people that try to stop it too?
Yeah, I think you're right.
No,
yeah.
But that has been the history of every...
I hate saying that because I believe in so strongly in this country.
Yeah.
I served for 12 years in the reserves. I understand about supporting the Constitution, but I'm so offended by the fact that it's very difficult to do anything meaningful against this.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of fear. I mean, I think there definitely is a lot of fear.
But fear is always part of it, right? Fascism doesn't get ushered in because people feel, that nothing bad will happen. Fear is always a tool of every sort of authoritarian, totalitarian sort of regime. They kind of count on that. And you're right, Kevin. It's a reliable way to kind of get things going. Also, history is replete with people who have stood up anyway and who've sacrificed everything anyway.
Thank you for the call, Kevin. Here's a good one. It's from Ellen in Merrimack, New Hampshire. Why hasn't Ghislaine Maxwell been deported? She's certainly a bad criminal. I mean, she's not. Honestly, I don't know if she ever became an American citizen, but she's not born here. She's British, and she's serving 20 years for sexually assaulting and helping and recruit girls to sexually assault and participating in sexual assault on these teenage girls. Yeah, that's a good question. If she's not a citizen, maybe we should get rid of her. Have you heard the latest about how she's in all these special privileges?
Oh yes, and she's in a sort of a an easygoing sort of facility.
Easygoing facility.
Yeah.
Private cell, gets special food, gets to hang out with the warden. The warden is helping her write her plea for commutation.
Right.
I mean,
no, it's absolutely pathetic.
Yeah.
I want to correct a couple of things. We got a couple of texts that are saying crossing the border without authorization is criminal. No, it's not.
It's
a
not.
civil proceeding. Crossing the border after you've been deported, re-entering the country is a felony. That is criminal. If crossing the border without authorization was criminal, all of the cases wouldn't be in immigration court. They'd be in criminal court. They are not. Okay? And for the other person who says that stabbing someone is now a civil offense, I made reference to the woman in Fitchburg. She's alleged to have stabbed a coworker with scissors. That case is pending. She has not been found guilty of anything. That is not why ICE went after her. They don't have any jurisdiction over that criminal case, and so the two things are completely different. So I just want to make that very clear, that people have a ton of misinformation around this stuff.
A texter wants to know if they think that Mr. Siegel is upset because he wanted the job at the car wash. He didn't get it. You think that's what the problem is?
Yeah, no, I doubt that. I doubt that. But I just think it's wretched, and you just wonder who raised someone to be so completely unfair. He didn't know anything about them. He didn't know whether or not they were here, or they were undocumented or not. He made an assumption based on what he could see, and most of them were women.
That's right. Jack in the car, thanks for calling.
Hi, Jack.
Howdy. Well, in fact, this goes right to your point. The future of the Republican Party is in the hands of a guy who makes unfounded accusations that are really quite consequential against people just because of the way they look.
Yeah.
And that's what we should look forward to from this party. And it scares me.
You get a great point. The Supreme Court basically has said that you can go into the Home Depot parking lot where a lot of day workers show up, and you can zero in on them because they're speaking Spanish or they look Hispanic.
Notably, the people who were arrested from the car wash were outside the car wash. ICE did not go inside the car wash because they're well aware of the authority that the Supreme Court has granted them, or at least the GOP majority on the Supreme Court has granted them.
Yeah, Jack, that was a great point. Thank you.
Thank you
very
for the call,
much.
Jack.
Okay. We've only had a couple of people that were supporting Zach here in this 40 minutes, have we not?
No, I think we've had one, and that person was anonymous. So you want to go to Linda in Norwood?
Yeah.
Linda.
Hi, Linda. Thank you for calling.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
What do you think?
You're welcome.
I'm wondering, do they have to do any due diligence before they arrest people? Do they have to look and see if they have papers or any of that?
No. I mean, some people are carrying papers with them for that reason. And at the car wash, they said some of these workers had papers in the lockers, but no, they just throw you in the car.
No, and that's the problem with all of this. That is why it's being challenged across the country, because this is literal taking the seizure of a person without due process. And like I said, the warrant itself is a civil warrant. It allows them to make an arrest, but it is actually a civil warrant. And it just smacks of when you could call not very long ago and suggest that your uncle had spoken out against the Germans, and your uncle had spoken out against Hitler, and the next thing you know, that person would be gone. For people who think that's not what's happening, that is what's happening.
Yeah, staff is pointing out ICE has the authority to conduct regular audits of businesses to check on immigration status of their workers. But the way I understand this thing happened is 9 cars showed up, and they grabbed the people that were outside cleaning the inside of the cars and took them away. And one of them is a woman, and she's still in Texas. This happened November 4th.
But if they had legal status, then they should have known that if they did due diligence.
Yeah.
So where's the due diligence?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that they're in violation of the United States Constitution, which requires due process, and these people aren't getting it. It's out of control, Andrea.
It's completely out of control. No, it is, and I feel like people really we've got to be better at figuring out what to do about this, because you can hear the frustration in people's voices. They want to do something, we're just not, and we're not. I don't think we're seeing enough leadership from from Dems and Independents, I think we should be seeing more. But anyway.
Okay. We have someone who's saying nothing's going to change until you shut off the money, but I'm not sure what they mean by that.
Well, that's what's driving most of this.
The money to ICE. Yeah.
The money to everywhere, to Congress, to ICE,
Oh, okay.
the money that owns newspapers and media now, all of it.
But it's worth remembering that this is where we're spending a bulk of our federal money right now is on ICE enforcement, right?
Shifted away from
beautiful bill.
the safety net to this, right? That's all the time we have. We really do thank everybody who called and texted. We're going to be more intentional about what we can do in the future. We say goodbye to you listening on NEPM, but please make sure to tune in to the fabulous 413. That starts at 3 o'clock this afternoon. The show continues here in Boston. Coming up after the noon news on 89.7 GBH, Callie Crossley is here. I'm Andrea Cabral in for Jim Browdy. She's Marjorie Egan, and you're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. We are live from the BPL and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
It's not over yet. More smart conversation about community issues up ahead with Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan on Boston Public Radio, right after a news update from NPR. Stay with us here on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Silograms, a Massachusetts-based maker of custom silicone products, from monogrammed ice cube trays to personalized wine stoppers and pet products. Their line of holiday gift options is available online at silograms.com. Catch the classic Shakespearean comedy of mistaken identity that tells the romantic misadventures of twins Sebastian and Viola after they survive a shipwreck. Watch great performances Twelfth Night, tonight at 9 on GBH2.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News, what matters to you?
I'm Marjorie Egan, ahead in hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio, live from the Boston Public Library. GBH's Callie Crossley talks about movement in the state legislature on protecting books and librarians in school from those who wish to ban books they don't like. Will the State House do something good for once? We'll talk with Callie about this and Republicans who are starting to sour on Donald Trump's handling of the government.
I'm Andrea Cabral in for Jim Browdy. Then it's Live Music Friday at the BPL with the beacon of light that is Shelter Music Boston. Professional musicians who provide those in the shelter community and substance abuse recovery centers access to free, beautiful chamber music. That plus our Trump Tracker segment next on the second hour of BPR on 89.7 GBH live from the BPL.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The 2020 election interference case against President Trump in Georgia has a new prosecutor. Peter Skandalakis is taking over from Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, who was disqualified because of an appearance of impropriety stemming from an intimate relationship with a lead investigative prosecutor. Skandalakis, executive director of Georgia's Prosecuting Attorneys Council, says he decided to assume responsibility for the case rather than allow it to be dismissed. The new prosecutor says he's going through mounds of evidence related to the investigation into state charges Trump unlawfully led others in a conspiracy to overturn the Georgia results of the 2020 presidential vote. In a statement, Skandalakis says he will then decide how best to proceed. Trump has consistently rebuked cases against him, including in Georgia and New York, as Democratic and media-fueled witch hunts. His lawyers have fired back with appeals, including to the U.S. Supreme Court. A North Carolina sheriff says Customs and Border Protection agents will soon be deployed in Charlotte. Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden says agents could arrive by Saturday. At a press conference this morning, Democratic State Representative Aisha Dew questioned the need for the CBP's presence.
We do not want ICE here. We do not need to have Border Patrol. As I've already said, I'm not quite sure what border we're patrolling here.
Member station WFAE reports in a message to parents of children in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District, school officials said they had not been told about immigration enforcement on education campuses. CMS cites federal and state laws that protect a student's right to a public education. It says procedures include not asking about a student's immigration status and not giving law enforcement access to students or campuses without a valid search warrant or subpoena. The Texas A&M University System Board of Regents approved a new policy that could limit curriculum related to race and gender identity. Houston Public Media's Kyle McClanagan has the latest.
The new policy effectively gives campus presidents veto power over race and gender courses. Robert Shibley, special counsel for the Foundation of Individual Rights and Expression, says the policy amounts to academic censorship.
This is really a prescription for a huge amount of interference that makes one-stop shopping for people who would like to put political pressure on these colleges to change what they are willing to teach.
James Hallmark, vice chancellor for academic affairs for the Texas A&M system, said the new policies are not meant to introduce new limitations on scholarly inquiry. He argued the policy reinforces the balance between academic freedom and academic responsibility. I'm Kyle McClanagan in Houston.
At last check on Wall Street, the Dow is down 150 points. This is NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Fall River is holding a recount for last week's mayoral election tomorrow, and the public is welcome to watch the proceedings. GBH's Adam Riley has more on the details.
Right now, Fall River's mayoral tally shows incumbent Paul Coogan beating challenger Gabriel Boomer Amaral by a whisker-thin margin of 225 votes. Now the city will recount every one of the nearly 12,000 votes cast on Election Day, as representatives from each campaign monitor the proceedings. The recount is being held in the atrium at Fall River City Hall. Adam Riley, GBH News.
Longtime Red Sox outfielder Jackie Bradley Jr. is this close to signing with a new version of the Indianapolis Clowns baseball team. The Clowns are part of a new 60-game Banana Ball Championship League and is being launched by the Savannah Bananas in 2026 with 6 different teams. Back in the day, the Indianapolis Clowns were a team in the Negro Leagues that once featured Hall of Famer Hank Aaron. Revived by the Bananas, the 35-year-old Bradley tells ESPN he is thrilled to be joining the team. Bradley first appeared in Banana Ball last summer, receiving a standing ovation at Fenway Park, and that's what got this ball rolling. Also in sports, last night's Patriots win gives them the best record in the NFL this season, 9-2. We like that. They have a 9-day rest to get ready for the Bengals in Cincinnati. In the forecast, clouding up this afternoon, high in the 80s. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include ARM. On the latest episode of Tech Unheard, ARM CEO and host Renee Haas talks to Minister Ashwini Vaishnav of India about how tech and AI are helping to shape the future of computing.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio and GBH, Marjorie Egan, and that's me. And I'm here with the former Secretary of Public Safety, Andrea Cabral, who's in for Jim, who has a day off. Hello, Andrea.
Hello, Marjorie.
Thank you for coming in.
Sure.
We are live at the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. The Mayor of Boston will be with us November 18th from noon to 1, taking our questions and yours. And Yo-Yo Ma is here a week from today. Is it a week from? No, it's not a week from today. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. I got that wrong. Wednesday, not Friday, on November 19th. Okay, you wanted to say something, Andrew, before we start.
I did. So, I felt like, like I said, I could hear the frustration of people. So what can we do? What can we do? We think we have to do something on a national level, and I agree with that. But I wanted to just give credit to Mary, one of our texters, who said there are a few of the many positive things you can do. Volunteer for BIJAN, BIJAN, which is the Boston Immigration Justice Accompaniment Network, and or donate to them. Carry the LUCE hotline with you and report any suspicious vehicles or activities. They can use volunteers and donations too. Join a rally at an ICE facility. We have texters that are telling us that they make a very long trip through very heavy traffic to get to the ICE facility in Burlington to protest. There are facilities in Framingham and Plymouth and probably more. I know how this feels. I contribute money. I figure if I can't do anything on a national level, I can help feed somebody today. So look locally. If you're feeling overwhelmed but you want to do something, look to just help, even if you just help one person locally, and then just build on that. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, no, thank you for adding that. That really matters. Okay, we are joined at the Boston Public Library desk by Callie Crossley, host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, which airs Sunday nights on GBH. You can also hear Callie's Monday Callie commentaries on GBH's Morning Edition. And Callie, of course, is the co-host of the Culture Show's Week in Review, which is live here at the Boston Public Library immediately following us today. Hi, Callie.
Hello,
Callie.
Hello, Andrea.
We ended up doing a whole talker on the ICE raid on the car wash in Austin. But if you have anything you wanted to add, go right ahead.
No, I'd just be redundant. My main thing was you don't know who the people are.
Yeah.
I could maybe figure where he was coming from. He looked out the window and saw somebody that he knew personally, or knew of or whatever, but he didn't know who they were, whether they had any kind of criminal background. They just looked a certain way. And to the caller who said, well, the Supreme Court said that's okay, that is correct. If people look a certain way, according to the Supreme Court, you can go arrest them. They sound a certain way, you can go arrest them. So I guess he, decided he would put that in practice.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about book bans right here in Massachusetts. What's going on?
Well, this is an exciting movement. The Senate has just passed a bill to protect against these politically motivated book bans. What people may not know, and I should back up and say, all year long, beginning at the first of the year, my show, Under the Radar, has been doing a series called Unbound Pages about the anti-book banning movement. So as a part of the anti-book banning movement, there is legislation in 4 states now. Massachusetts now, assuming that the House says okay, would be the 5th. So right now in Illinois, Maryland, California, and New Jersey, there is already this kind of legislation to protect against just random challenges that come from an organized campaign, usually with people who've never read the books, just so people are clear. These are not people who read the books and said, I am personally offended by this and that. These are people who have never read the books, who've been handed to them some excerpts from the book out of context and decided, based on this organized campaign, that we don't like it and we're going to attack it. The first person in our series was Amanda Jones from Louisiana, who's written a book called That Librarian, when she details what happened to her by simply asking, don't we worry about censorship? That's all she said. And she's been trolled and attacked in ways I can't describe, but is in the series that you can find online at GBH. So having that, we were very fascinated about the legislation. And you might say to yourself, wow, how did we get to the legislation part? Because it seems like this is, Massachusetts, come on. There are challenges in Massachusetts, many challenges, as a matter of fact. And what New Jersey State Senator Andrew Zwicker said, which was happening here in Massachusetts until Julian Sear and some others got a hold of this, is that they were unaware of how intense it was. It was a renewed book banning effort, started in 2021, and it's been ramped up by certain organizations some of you may have heard of, like Moms for Liberty, and others. There are others. And they just go around to various communities and attack librarians and also the book choices. So this is a real effort to protect libraries, to protect the content in libraries, and to protect librarians. And so our bill, assuming this goes through the House, would allow, this is very important, I think, and I'm not sure it's in every other bill that's been passed, that a challenged book in a school library remains available to library patrons while the process plays out.
Yeah,
now let me
good.
just do
That's
a little
good.
tangent right here.
Yep.
In case people didn't know there is a process in place. You can go to any library and say to the librarian, hey, I think I have a problem with this book. And they have a process by which you can have a discussion. There is no need to have all this organized vitriol attacks. You can have a conversation. You know what I mean? There are other people to weigh in on that decision. That's always been there. So imagine the surprise of the librarians who are just doing their jobs and this has happened to them in I can tell you, it's in the series, how they've been trolled and attacked. So this is very protective. It would also protect librarians and school employees, as I said, from retaliation. It also allows local school districts and municipal public libraries to have the flexibility to craft their own policies that align with state protocols and the standards of the American Library Association. I cannot tell you what it has meant across the states to see the kinds of books that are perennially attacked and that continue to be attacked. One of the authors that we spoke to in one of our segments about how books that are regularly banned and have been, Sandra Cisneros. Her book is 40 years old, been taught everywhere, is in 40 translations. Are you kidding? This is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. So some of the authors have band together under Authors Against Book Bans. There are other people, as you can see on this list of authors like Geraldine Brooks and Celeste Ng, who have stood up in support of this legislation. This is extremely important and will, I think, make certain that young people particularly, but any of us, can do it. I'll quote Jodi Picoult said, if you think that they're only coming for Gender Queer by Maya Kobe, all your romantasy books, they're coming for you. Same stuff. So be aware, adults. It's not just about kids. This is about our choices. This is about libraries. We have to understand that information is linked to democracy, and this is a foundation of our democracy. I feel very passionate about this. Libraries were so important in my life. So anyway, that's why this bill is very important. And by the way, this is the second go-round for Julian Cyr as a lead sponsor on this. He tried last year, and now this has come to fruition.
Yeah. And restriction to the access.
Yes.
Of information leads to the death of democracy.
Right.
I was shocked. The American Library Association has an Office for Intellectual Freedom. Well, it's their Office for Intellectual Freedom. Found that there were 821 attempts to censor public library materials, and 2,452 unique titles were challenged. And as you say, this is just people saying, "Oh, I read that this is in this book, and I don't like it." People have always, historically, hasn't there always been sort of a separation where people understand what is taught in school and they leave their home teaching to tell their children what they want them to have access to and what they don't? These same parents who are banning books, their kids are on TikTok, their kids are on social media, their kids are watching porn. There's all kinds of stuff happening that they're less concerned about, but they're banning books. I've never understood how that cognitive dissonance around that.
And my feeling is you as a parent have control over your household and what you want your kid to do. Leave my kids, I don't have any.
Exactly.
But my niece and nephew and everybody else alone. And the library is so fundamental for so many people.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And we're the home of the first public library in the country.
That's right. Yes.
Right here.
And let me just also say, in the Boston Public Library is a program, the name of which is escaping me now, but what it does is make available to people in other states where books have been banned for them to rent the books from here. So,
that's fabulous.
Yes, just give them that credit.
Okay. I feel a little awkward with this segue, but I can do it if you feel
you go right ahead.
So this is an opportunity for us to gossip a little bit about the woman who married RFK Jr. That would be Cheryl Hines. She used to be on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and she used to play the wife of Larry on Curb Your Enthusiasm. She's married RFK Jr.
He introduced them.
That's right. He did introduce them. He must be shocked at how things have turned out.
Yes, he
because she's got a new memoir in which she admits in that when Donald Trump won in 2016, she cried and cried for many hours. But things have changed. Things have changed. Oh, Adrian and I have an analysis here, but let's start with you, Callie, because you're the guest. What is she doing married to the guy that Caroline Kennedy has called a predator? His whole family has called really a troubled guy who's trying to take vaccines away from the children of America and says all these crazy things about Tylenol, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
This is just on a larger scale. There's no accounting for love. That's all I can tell you, because that's all I can tell you. You know people in your life right now, you're going, really? Really? Yeah. You're with so-and-so? Come on. And
That's
you know, she's been told that. Now, I always say, there are some people that may not have any girlfriends because clearly she doesn't have any, because if she had some, they would have read the book and said, come on, Cheryl, either say something or say nothing.
Right.
But don't do
There's
this
no
mushy
middle ground.
mushy mush in here. Stand up with the guy. If you like the guy, you're in love with him, and you know he's nutty, say he's nutty, but he's my guy, and too bad the rest of you all don't like it. Yes, I changed my political position, but that's my right. Go ahead. I think what annoys people is that she's kind of, well, I understand both sides. No, you don't. Just say what you do. Just say what you want and leave us alone.
But some of these details in here, right? Early on in the relationship, she gets into his pickup truck, and I don't know if assume she's joking, but maybe she's not.
No.
That she got into the truck and smelled the rancid smell of roadkill in the car.
That's usually a deal breaker.
Yeah, usually
for most first dates.
Yeah. If there's a dead raccoon that's been there for 6 months in the car.
It's probably that bear from Central Park.
Yeah. Or the fact that he bought, you've seen those Liberty Mutual commercials with the emu that's running onto the field, the stadium. They're kind of funny commercials.
I can't stand those commercials, but go ahead. There's no accounting for taste.
Would you buy an emu for a pet for your wife's child?
Probably not. Yeah, well, if I was in Australia, maybe, but probably not in the United States.
Yeah.
You know what the old people always said? There is a pot for every lid.
You think that's
a lid for every
I think
pot.
this is much. It's much simpler. I think that she's made, as many before her have, men and women, made a conscious decision that the status that she enjoys as being part of the Kennedy family and being the wife of a current cabinet secretary, no matter how insane he might be or how much damage he may do, is better.
Except, Andrea, she's not part of the Kennedy family, because the Kennedy family has said, what is happening here?
But you do read in the article there's an article called 7 Takeaways from, it's in the Washington Post. It's Maurice Judkis's article. She talks, you can actually hear the reverence in the quote when she goes to the Kennedy compound for the first time, and it's that lure of Camelot.
That's right.
And even if he's on the outs, right? There's still that proximity. And I just think it's a conscious decision, like I said, as many have made before her and many will make in the future.
That's right.
That there's a certain cachet to this that exceeds what she might be able to attain with someone not so notorious.
And so my thing is, then don't bitch at the rest of us.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Just enjoy it. You know.
There was the matter of the romance with the reporter, and Kennedy has talked about how he's a sex addict, so maybe he fell off the wagon or something like that in a brief spree or whatever. I mean, did you find the explanation of how they worked the affair out to be credible, Andrea?
Well, it's credible if you take what I just said, which is we sat down and we talked, and I made the conscious decision that the status I enjoy with you supersedes the being publicly humiliated by your affair with a journalist.
Now, here's the test.
What?
The alleged affairee, however you sort, has her own memoir coming out. And what we don't know after that comes out with the details, how
she was made an editor at Vanity Fair. Which is amazing example of failing upward.
Well, she got in trouble because she was having this affair. She called it, didn't she call it some kind of emotional affair? It wasn't a non-physical affair with the sex addict. I don't know. That's kind of strange credulity. But maybe with Cheryl Hines, it's about the workouts. You know, RFK Jr., he's working out 4 hours a day. He posts pictures of himself. He works out in a pair of jeans, which is unusual, I think, and shirtless. No shirt and jeans.
Well, my issue isn't that she had the affair with him. I don't care. I mean, I kind of never care about that kind of stuff. It's that she was covering him. How is she an editor at Vanity Fair? Right. She was a journalist who was covering a subject with whom, at a minimum, had an emotional affair with, and at worst had a physical affair with. How does she get made an editor? Well, that's the failing upwards I'm talking about.
But that's what it also, brought her down, because when that was exposed. And oh, by the way, Lenny Kravitz works out in leather pants and no shirt.
What are you two watching?
I've missed that. Check that out immediately.
I'm not. I can't say that how JFK works out is.
There's some steroid action going on there.
I don't know.
He's 71 years old. His head looks bigger than it used to be to me.
I can't comment.
What are you talking about? RFK Jr.
Oh, I pay as little attention as possible to him, except when I read about what he does.
I've been studying the neck size. I'm suspicious. Let's put it that way.
Okay. This next one is actually of all the stories, It's up there. Tell us about window seats. Now, when I buy a ticket and I ask for a window seat, especially if they make me pay more, I assume I will be able to see what is outside the plane. Apparently not.
You assume you'd get an actual window.
An actual window. Apparently not.
It turns out that if you're on United Airlines or Delta Airlines and you paid more for what you thought was a window seat, meaning an actual window where you can lift the shade, you might not get it. You could get on the plane and be looking at the wall, which they say is just fine. They're being sued by passengers who said it's not fine.
Not fine.
Right.
And but they say the use of the word window in reference to a particular seat cannot reasonably be interpreted as a promise that the seat will have an exterior window.
That's amazing.
I just have to laugh at that. That is just crazy.
But by
talk.
that logic, they could actually seat you in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Because that has a wall that is on the same side of the plane as the windows, and there's no window in there. So you could pay more and then end up sitting on the toilet for your entire flight.
Yes.
Okay.
So are they going to get away with this?
Well, they're in court. I mean, that's what the whole thing. They had to come up with something. So I just want to know who the high-powered lawyer was who came up with that sentence. I think that's hilarious.
But why is it so difficult to just say, we won't charge you more?
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
Why is the greed so relentless?
And by the way, the other airlines tell you if you want a window seat, they'll say, hey, this is a seat that has no window as we interpret real windows, where the thing comes up, the shade comes up, and you can look out.
Well, they tell you
Well, that's a big deal, right?
If you're at the emergency exit, they tell you about that. Why can't they just say this seat is considered not on the aisle, but there's no window there? It's that simple.
And the woman, one of the people that complained, paid $169.99 to choose a window seat, and she got on the plane and she didn't have it. Now, they would be landing the plane for a crazy passenger like me.
Yeah.
I paid $200 for the window.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But that's a really good point, because there's a huge problem in the skies with people who are disgruntled for any one of a number of real and imaginary reasons. Why would you give people a reason to get on the plane and realize you don't have a window seat?
I don't know.
And then I can imagine,
amazing.
I'm just going on and fantasizing, and I'm thinking, so you paid almost $200, you get on, you don't see the window, and then you try to negotiate with somebody on the next row, hey, would you mind changing seats with me? And I can't stand those people. Don't talk to me about it. You booked the seat. Leave me alone.
Okay. Do we have time to squeeze in one more thing here?
Yeah, we can be brief. We can talk about it.
Apparently the Harvard students feel they deserve an A for effort, even if the paper they hand in is not really A material. What do you think?
Well, see, I interpreted this differently.
Yeah,
I interpreted this as these are very smart kids, and most of them are doing A material, but it's being handed out so frequently that it now has no meaning.
Okay.
Because if everybody in the class is getting an A, then how do you assess your top performers? And that's what the deal is. And instead of the folks there, and now they're talking about it now, the administration saying, okay, this cannot go on. We have to figure out how we are going to identify top performers, and if that means that we have to recalculate what an A really means, or does that mean we come up with something beyond an A? Whatever we do, it cannot be that everybody here
gets an A.
Okay. Because I think they are doing, most of these people are doing A work.
You think so?
Yeah.
You don't think you get in and then you kind of slough off for the next 4 years?
No, let me tell you something. I did a fellowship over at the Kennedy School, and we were assigned students to work with us. And we had a little budget. We could take them out to dinner. It was so hard to get them to dinner. Why? Those kids are studying like crazy.
Really?
Yeah, no, their nose are to the,
Okay.
And listen, I graduated, as you know, from the premier women's college in the world, Wellesley College, and we had to work.
But you were I think it's a big difference having gone to a smaller school and then a big, huge school. I think you have to work a lot harder in smaller schools because there's fewer kids in the classes and there's more, you don't have a class with 400 people like you might at Harvard.
I don't know. I think the issue here is if you have a class of really smart students, how your grading becomes very important about how you assess them. And if you get to the point where grade inflation is common, that's a problem. Because then you do have a bunch of kids, as we know, from the group that says, if I work hard, I should get it. But they are working hard. And they're doing work.
And in fairness to the students, a lot of this has to do with tenure and ratings, and professors sort of, give everybody higher grades sometimes. They even admit it in order to get better reviews so they get closer to tenure. It's a lot about not wanting people's parents or donors who are parents complaining that their kid who deserved an F should have gotten an F, and then you have to give them, because they give the school money. There are a lot of factors in this, and in fairness to the kids,
and
it's not just their fault.
Now, if you're a student, I will admit this. If you're a student, you try to scam everybody, right?
That's
so
right.
In my time, we had a relationship with MIT. We could take courses at MIT. So what did I? From a humanities school, very good hard on the writing. I went to MIT where you could ace that baby in the humanities classes. Come on. This makes sense to me. We're all trying to scam if we can.
Okay.
I just want everyone to know I went to Boston College, and the Jesuits are fine teachers. Thank you very much.
There you go. Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Callie.
You're welcome.
We've been speaking with Callie Crossley. She's the host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, which airs Sunday nights on GBH. You can also hear her Monday Callie commentaries on GBH's Morning Edition. And she's a co-host for the Culture Show Week in Review, which starts immediately after us at the BPL studio. Coming up after this quick break, we've got Live Music Friday, which I love, from Shelter Music Boston. I'm Andrea Cabral. I'm in for Jim Browdy. She's Marjorie Egan. She's in for herself. You're listening to BPR on 89.7 GBH, live from the BPL, and we're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
John Lennon and Yoko Ono's message of nonviolence is pretty well known.
I think it's as simple as peace and love,
I'm Elsa Chang. John and Yoko's son, Sean Ono Lennon, talks with me about what's less understood about his famous parents, especially his mom. And we get into the new documentary 1-to-1 on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, working to open blue possibilities for human lives and livelihoods. You can learn about the campaign for our ocean planet at whoi.edu. And Rogers Fish Company, founded by Roger Berkowitz. Their signature double clam chowder is available for purchase at all Market Basket locations. More at rogersfishcompany.com.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Okay, we have another wonderful Live Music Friday opportunity here. In 2010, violinist Julie Leven had an aha moment when she read a story about a woman performing at homeless shelters throughout New York City. She felt inspired, thinking if a university can have a quartet in resident, why can't a homeless shelter? And with that thought, Shelter Music Boston was born 15 years ago, and over 900 free concerts. They're celebrating with a special show tomorrow at the Allen Center in Newton. Tickets are sold out, but for more information, if you want to invest in this program, go to sheltermusic.org. We're going to speak with them in just a couple of minutes, but right now we're going to hear a performance, Mozart's Allegro from Duo in G major. Julie and Rebecca performing. Here they go.
It was excellent.
Yeah, Shelter Music Boston, Julie Leven and Rebecca Strauss performing. They're going to join now the managing director of this whole operation, Carrie Eldridge Dixon. Thank you so much, all three of you, for coming in. Yeah.
This is absolutely wonderful. You know, our first guests today were Shirley Leung from the Globe and Nancy Barnes, who's just been made Globe editor. They're doing a summit called, and they're talking about revolutionary ideas, so I'm going to definitely start with Julie. So we were struggling to sort of say, what exactly is a revolutionary idea? What you had was a revolutionary idea that you not only had the idea, you actually made it happen. So tell people why and how you decided on this. It is one of the most wonderful things I've ever heard of.
Well, thank you very much. In the introduction, I was inspired by a violinist from New York City who I've become friends with around this work. And I did have this moment of, we need that in Boston. It's going to be a social service organization, not a concert presenter, but the social service that we will present is a concert taken to the environment where it's needed. Many people can't get to a concert, so our work is not only about producing concerts of the highest artistic standards, but it's about the activism in as 21st century musicians, taking responsibility for who can hear our concerts and what our concerts can achieve and where they should be performed. So it was a big idea, as I said, inspired by another colleague, and it just kind of took over my life, actually. For the first 5 years, it was kind of 24/7 because I was the executive director, the fundraising director, the IT, the database, the concert producer, and a violinist playing on many of the concerts. Along with my wonderful colleague, Rebecca Strauss, we played the first set of concerts, and I remember when we could add a third player, it was a big celebration. And I want to add that, like all social service organizations, Shelter Music Boston musicians are staff members. The social worker, the psychiatrist, the desk staff at a homeless shelter, those are professionals who are doing that work as they're making a living. And Shelter Music Boston musicians are paid for their work, and we have professionalized the work at all levels. And in fact, Boston Healthcare for the Homeless program was my model for Shelter Music Boston.
Healthcare for the homeless.
Exactly.
Another revolutionary idea.
Exactly. And when they started in 1985, the idea was, this is not charity work. This is social change work, because everyone deserves access to the highest quality health care. And I just substitute in the word concerts. Everyone deserves access to the highest quality chamber music concerts, whether or not they have a home.
Rebecca, tell us about some of the places where you perform.
Well, Shelter Music Boston has performed in Pine Street Inn. We play in the Pine Street Inn Stabilization Unit, which is a substance abuse recovery program. We play at the Shattuck Shelter, which is now actually part of Pine Street Inn, Casper Shelter in Cambridge.
Woods Mullen.
Thank you, Woods Mullen.
Southampton Street.
Yes.
Wow. The women's lunch place?
We have.
Fabulous.
In the past. Yes.
So it's people who are homeless and people who are dealing with substance abuse problems.
Yes.
And how did you get involved in this whole thing?
Oh, well, I actually worked at Boston Healthcare for the Homeless program for almost 10 years and knew Julie and Rebecca during my time there, and joined forces with them when my life took a change, and it's just been a pleasure to be involved with Shelter Music Boston. I think, like Julie said, when I was at Healthcare for the Homeless, we were providing healthcare, and at Shelter Music Boston, we're providing the therapeutic benefits of classical music.
Which increasingly is seen as healthcare.
That's right.
Certainly, there's something called social prescribing. You've probably heard of it. Maybe some of your guests have spoken about it. It started in the UK. Doctors prescribe attending concerts. It's happening now in the United States. In fact, we have something called Arts Pharmacy here in Massachusetts, and going to a museum, attending a concert. And so again, we're providing concerts for individuals who typically can't get to a concert for financial reasons, particularly with the individuals needing the shelter services. There's a lottery for a bed, and if you're not there when the bed lottery happens, you don't have an indoor place to sleep that night. Although in Massachusetts, it's a right to shelter state, there will be something provided, but maybe not where you've shown up. You might have to shuttle around, and it's even, more stress for an individual who's already experiencing quite a bit of stress. So,
one of the best aspects, I think, of this, or satisfying in sort of a policy wonk kind of way, is you measure the impact of this music. So tell us a little bit about, and anyone who wants to answer this can answer it. I suspect, Julie, you know because you were there from the beginning. What made you start to measure it? Was it just part of the, if you're a nonprofit, you need to have, metrics and measurements? But it became a little bit more than that, right? Just not measuring for the purpose of being a nonprofit, but this feedback is unique and amazing. So can you all talk about that?
Sure, yeah, thank you. Yeah, after the very first concerts, Rebecca and I would sit together and talk about what people had said to us verbally. And of course, starting a nonprofit from zero, one does need metrics to be able to go to funders and legally raise money to pay for the services. And so I realized we need something to document the individuals that they produce, that is not enough for me to be saying that this gentleman said this and this woman said that. And initially it was a smiley face survey, which of course now is, you see it at your doctor's office, you see it on the airplanes, it's everywhere. And then it was not as ubiquitous, but it was straightforward because we needed straightforward. Many of our audience members don't speak English, so we couldn't have lots of questions. Also, because of the populations we serve, many people are afraid to fill out paperwork because when they do, something bad typically happens.
Oh.
So we wanted to make it easily accessible, user-friendly, and with the smiles, it was a smile, a neutral, a frown. How did you feel before? How did you feel after? Turns out the statisticians were thrilled with that because every little smiley face got assigned a number, and that was how we documented statistically significant mood improvement over our concerts at all our venues. And we asked if individuals were comfortable, would you mind telling us anything that was meaningful to you about the concert? And that was how we've acquired an amazing portfolio of poetry, of life stories. In fact, some of the quotes from our individuals have inspired us to create works of music that then we have brought back to the shelter to perform for our audience members and to evolve collaborations. So,
well, tell us a story or two that moved you, a reaction that you heard that mattered, either Julie or Rebecca, or go ahead.
I have one right at the tip of my tongue.
That's wonderful.
At Woods Mullen Shelter last summer, there was a woman there who wrote on the survey that before our concert, all day long, I just wanted to kill myself.
Oh.
But then what she wrote for how I felt after the concert was comforted, positive outlook. And I have just been holding on to that for over a year now because it is not an uncommon transformation to have a sort of stark before and a beautiful after feeling, but the suicidal ideation to this comforted, positive outlook just it really struck all of us and speaks, I think, to the power of what we're doing. And
that wasn't the first time we've received a response like that. Over the years, we have had individuals write, "This concert might have saved my life," and other very potent words, to which I say, we went to music school, not medical school. Who knew that we as musicians could actually save lives?
But I would think you're really highly skilled professional musicians. I mean, you are, we just heard you. I mean, you're fantastic. We're going to hear you again in a couple of seconds. So that you would come to where they are when that doesn't happen that often, when you are struggling to find a place to live, says something about how you value the people, I think.
You've got it.
And that's a big part of a big part of our mission is to provide a dignified environment for individuals who are typically not looked in the eye, not listened to. Our concerts are very interactive. We want questions. Sometimes people get up and dance, which is just the greatest compliment, to have that kind of positive energy amidst the really truly squalor that one experiences in a shelter.
There's also a lot of hooting and hollering and clapping.
Great.
Not the sort of polite clapping that you might hear in a traditional venue after classical music, but really raucous enthusiasm for the work.
Well, it is amazing how music is almost always the shortest distance between what we might ignore and empathy that moves us to see what we were ignoring. Yeah. And that's what this seems to be doing. So, Rebecca, talk a little bit about the diversity of music that's evolved over time, where you've started to get requests, that you've got a collaborator, I know his last name is Green, I can't think of the first name, who took a sample from a song from a tribe called Quest, and it's now part of this sort of chamber music, which is amazing.
Well, I'm going to have Julie say a little bit about that, but I will say that the music that we just played was on our very first concert in the shelter.
The Mozart piece.
The Mozart. And just to step back for 1 second, just to say that when we first walked into the shelter playing Mozart in a very chaotic environment, to be honest, I was pretty nervous. I had no idea what the reaction would be. And it was very positive, and over the years and over the concerts, sometimes we'd walk into the shelter and people would be like, yeah, Mozart, yeah, Beethoven.
That's great.
So just to give you an idea of that. And then over the years, we have really been very intentional about including women composers, African-American composers from all over the world, but not just focused on European classical music. And I'll let Julie maybe talk about the Green or you.
The collaborations.
Yeah, the collaborations.
Yeah, we have had a number of very different collaborations. The one you're referring to was the musicians brought in a piece to perform that represented a certain emotion. Each musician chose that piece, so it was a favorite piece, happiness, joy, melancholy, and played the music for the shelter or the recovery center audience. And then audience members were asked, what pieces represent those things to you? And then the audience members offered up, those who were comfortable offered up what they were interested in, and those suggestions were taken to a set of composers that we work with, who then illustrated that emotion in a piece for a string quartet, which then those pieces were brought back to our concert environment and performed for maybe some of the same people, maybe not, because really we hope those individuals in the shelter are moving to housing, and when we don't see them again, we hope it's for that reason.
But that's how we ended up with a version or an adaptation of Can I Kick It?
Right, by Tribe Called Quest. But I saw that, I was like, I wonder how they made that work, but that's music.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know something, Carrie, you've been working, as you mentioned, with healthcare for the homeless. One of the things that I've been reading, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we tend to think of people that are homeless they've got substance abuse problems or they've got mental illness problems, but an increasing number of people just don't have enough money. And they're homeless because they got evicted and they can't afford to get back.
I think, and I sort of learned and appreciated this from my time at Healthcare for the Homeless, and I've carried it with me to my time with Shelter Music Boston. I think that there is just not enough affordable housing.
Yeah.
And you're right that people don't have enough income. This is a very expensive area of the country to live in, and there isn't enough affordable housing. And so while folks certainly may have these factors around mental health issues or substance use, domestic violence, trauma from childhood, like those are very real things in folks' lives, but it's really about access to housing.
Rebecca and Julie, I looked at the clock, I'm late. We got to get back over there and play the Sibelius piece for us. But meanwhile, Carrie, you can tell us a little bit about if people are interested in going to these concerts or supporting the work you do while they get ready.
Because you got an anniversary coming up.
It's true. This is our 15th anniversary this year, which is amazing. And I will just share that for folks who would like to get involved, our website is filled with information and photos and contact info, and you can reach us at sheltermusicboston.org. And it's very easy to make a contribution to invest in our mission there. And certainly you can reach out to any of us.
This is one of the things you can do, people, when you're feeling like you want to fight back, you want to help, donate to Shelter Music.
Because it's activism.
They help. It's activism.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
We're going to hear Duo in C Major by Sibelius. Here we go.
That was fabulous. Thank you. We've been speaking and listening to music from Julie Leven, Rebecca Strauss, and we've heard from Carrie Eldridge Dixon, right? With Shelter Music Boston. For more information and to invest in their work and your own humanity, go to sheltermusicboston.org. Coming up after this quick break, it's Friday Trump Tracker segment, where we try to shed some light on the lesser covered things the administration is doing in our name. I'm Andrea Cabral. I'm in for Jim Browdy. She's Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR on 89.7 GBH. We're live from the BPL and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
This week on Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, housing affordability hits a new low in Rhode Island. More Cape and Island towns push for a seasonal community designation. And how a Vermont man ended up with Jeffrey Epstein's address book. It's our regional news roundtable. That's Under the Radar with me, Callie Crossley, Sunday night at 6 here on 89.7 GBH and the GBH app.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Silicgrams, a Boston area manufacturer working with businesses to create custom silicone products for corporate gifts and branded merchandise. Learn about their monogrammed ice trays and more online at Silicgrams.com. And Fixed Dental, offering permanent teeth-on implants customized in their laboratory, enabling their doctors and technicians to oversee every aspect of the smile design. Learn more about all the treatments offered at Fixed at fixeddental.com.
Okay, welcome back to BPR on GBH. I'm Marjorie Egan. Andrew Cabral is in for Jimmy's got the day off. We are live. Thank you. Wow. Well, we just heard some unbelievable music.
What a fabulous organization,
yeah.
fabulous, talented
Someone
musicians.
just texted, by the way, and said that they have a profoundly autistic child, and when they are having a meltdown, the parent plays Mozart. Within 10 minutes, the child calms down. So the child had a very calming experience just now. Anyway, we are back. We're going to be uncalm for the next couple of minutes. We're talking about our Friday Trump Tracker segment, where we try to shed some light on a couple of things the Trump administration is doing that we may have missed. And Andrea, do you want to start or shall I?
Why don't you start, Marjorie?
Okay.
I'll just take a few deep breaths.
Donald Trump plans to allow new oil and gas drilling off the coast of California, places like Santa Cruz and Carmel and Monterey, all those gorgeous places. They haven't drilled there like in 4 decades because of the oil spill in Santa Monica in 1969. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, thought it was remarkable that Mr. Trump did not call for any drilling near Mar-a-Lago.
Well, I think Gavin Newsom will also, he's already said, we're going straight to court. Go ahead. Because you have to submit a plan, and the state will challenge it, and hopefully he'll hold it up for years long enough for Trump to be out of office. But it's retaliatory. It's clearly retaliatory. Destroy the coast because he hates California because it's a blue state. People may not know, but there are within our safety net, we have a thing called the Continuum of Care Fund that has $3.5 billion in it. And what it does is it provides long-term housing for unhoused people. So this is how people get back on their feet. We talk about homelessness and encampments and various other things that Trump wants to simply wipe off the face of the earth. This, under Biden, was expanded to make sure that people could transition into having a home over a period of time. Trump wants to cut those housing grants, and it will mean that as many as 170 formerly homeless people who are now not homeless because of the Continuum of Care funds and are in long-term housing will be evicted. Oh, that's what he's trying to do. Obviously, there is pushback to that. And again, he's taking money from the poor and shifting it for the tax cuts for the rich. So that's my housing story on
especially
Trump.
When we have a terrible housing crisis, which causes more of a housing problem for everybody.
Exactly.
Well, you know how it is. The rules apply to you and me, but they don't apply to Donald Trump. We talked earlier about people being upset about these hardline immigration tactics. Well, the president's family has managed to get 184 foreign workers from Mar-a-Lago, his Virginia winery, and 2 golf clubs. Just this year, they actually increased the pace at which they hire foreign workers on temporary visas. This this is fine, it's legal. It's just that he can do it very, very easily while everybody else struggles to get people here, and people who might otherwise come here are afraid to come because they think that they might be subject to some kind of hassling from ICE if they come here from another country. But who can be surprised at this, right?
Well, for people who, you may not remember back when he was just a New York developer, he routinely hired undocumented workers, many of them from Poland, and then didn't pay them and forced them to take him to court. And they settled for pennies on the dollar because that was his strategy. But he used to knowingly hire undocumented workers as a matter of routine to build his buildings. So just the last word, and I'll be really brief about this, is most people are pleased that the shutdown is over, in as much as it means that SNAP benefits, should they assume, will go back to normal, right? Poor people will be fed and there won't be as much hunger. That is actually not the case, and people should not necessarily expect that all of the benefits, because Trump is still fighting this, that all of the benefits are going to resume and that everyone will be made whole instantly. And certainly in states like Massachusetts, the governor has made it clear that people should spend their EBT money, but that's really not what's going to happen. He's still fighting it to keep people hungry and poor.
Okay, we're in good shape.
All right, that's it. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Everything is swell.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll be back after the break. I'm Andrea Cabral. She's Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR at 89.7 GBH. We are live from the BPL, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're coming back with Sue O'Connell.
New Englanders are curious, informed, and engaged, and that's why Champion Circle members invest in GBH with annual gifts of $900 or more. It's just one way to make a big impact. Learn more at gbh.org/champion-circle.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Boston Ballet, presenting George Balanchine's Jewels, showcasing 3 distinct styles of neoclassical ballet in one brilliant program. Now on stage through November 16th at Citizens Opera House. Tickets at bostonballet.org. And the Daughters of the American Revolution, dedicated to preserving and celebrating the individuals who contributed to securing independence for our country 250 years ago. Resources and membership info at dar.org.
You're listening to 89.7 WGB Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Marjorie Egan, ahead on hour number 3 of BPR, live from the Boston Public Library. It's media maven and intrepid Canadian traveler, Sue O'Connell. She'll recap her trip to Nova Scotia, reporting on Boston's Christmas tree. We'll also get her take on that cute little baby alligator found in the Charles River, and more.
I'm Andrea Cabral, in for Jim Browdy. Then we'll end our week with you and your nighttime routines. Is yours a 12-step skincare routine driven by influencers? Does it involve pills or alcohol, doom scrolling, or just the gentle cadence of Goodnight Moon? How do you decompress? We'll get your thoughts on those rituals that carry you into a restful night or not. Call or text on the 3rd hour of BPR on 89.7, live from the BPL.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The election interference criminal case in Georgia against President Trump and several others will move forward after a new prosecutor was appointed before today's deadline. From member station WABE in Atlanta, Alex Helmick reports.
The Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia Executive Director Pete Skandalakis said that dismissal at this point was not the right course of action and has named himself to lead the case and perform what he called a comprehensive review to determine how to proceed. In a statement, the president's lead defense counsel, Steve Sadow, calls the case a politically charged prosecution and says that a review of the facts will lead to dismissal.
Alex Helmick reporting. Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis originally brought the massive racketeering case, but was removed by Georgia court for her personal relationship with a special prosecutor. The 43-day government shutdown, which is now over, delayed funding for a program that helps millions of Americans to pay their heating bills, to buy fuel, and to repair broken equipment. Sophia Schmidt with member station WHYY says it is still unclear when people will receive that assistance.
Several states have delayed their low-income home energy assistance programs, or LIHEAP, while they wait for federal funding. Mark Wolf heads a group that represents the state agencies involved. He says it usually takes the federal government about a month to release LIHEAP money after Congress passes a funding bill. But that was before the Trump administration fired the staff that administer the program this spring.
And for families that use delivered fuels, heating oil and propane, that could put them in a precarious situation because they have to pay the vendor to get fuel delivered.
The Department of Health and Human Services says it will work swiftly to administer the funds. For NPR News, I'm Sophia Schmidt in Philadelphia.
Ukrainian forces say they are holding on to a key city in eastern Ukraine, even as Russian forces say they're closing in, nearly 2 years after they first launched their fight to occupy it. NPR's Joanna Kakissis reports that both Ukraine and Russia also see the battle as key to shaping narratives about who is winning the war.
NPR spoke to 4 Ukrainian brigades whose soldiers are defending the eastern city of Pokrovsk, a city which Russian attacks have largely destroyed. Small groups of Russian troops have infiltrated the city, leading to intense street battles. Volodymyr Polovyi is with Ukraine's 7th Rapid Response Corps.
The brigades are really exhausted. The enemy has changed its tactic. We have the infiltration of infantry groups, and they are covered by the swarms of drones.
Russia is also using an elite drone unit called Rubicon, which hunts down Ukrainian drone operators. Joanna Kakissis, NPR News, Kyiv.
It's NPR.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Last week's extremely close mayoral election in Fall River is going to a recount tomorrow. GBH's Adam Riley has more on how much ground the challenger would need to make up.
According to results from before the recount, Fall River Mayor Paul Coogan barely kept his job this month, winning 50.68% of the vote to opponent Gabriel Boomer Amaral's 48.73%. That's a difference of 225 votes. Now the city will hand count every single ballot to make sure the result is accurate. The public is free to show up and observe in the atrium at Fall River City Hall, where representatives from the Coogan and Amaral campaigns will also be keeping a watchful eye on the proceedings. Adam Riley, GBH News.
State Auditor Diana DiZoglio has a new idea for how to overcome the back-and-forth arguments that have hampered her voter-backed investigation of the state of the House and the Senate. And it's send it back to the voters, and this time ask if they'd like to make legislative records open to the entire public. The Commonwealth Beacon reports DiZoglio has pretty much taken over as the leader of the campaign behind a ballot question that was passed by voters that would add both the legislature and the governor's office to the state public records law. In sports, the Patriots 9-2. They got the best record in the NFL right now. They have a 9-day rest to get ready for the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. And the Bruins and Celtics both off tonight. And we are looking at a cloudy day today, high in the upper 40s. We're at 44 right now. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Capital One, offering their dining and entertainment card, Savor. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
Welcome to hour number 3 of BPR and GBH. Marjorie Egan and former Secretary of Public Safety Andrew Cabral is in for Jim Browdy. I refer to myself in the third person. I meant to say I am Marjorie Egan. We're live. Yeah, that's the first sign of things going south, you know, when you start referring to yourself in the third person. Didn't mean to do that. Anyway, we're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. The mayor's going to be with us on November 18th from noon to 1, and Yo-Yo Ma will be here on the 19th of November. That is a Wednesday. No tickets or RSVP needed. Andrea, thank you very much for coming in.
Oh, you're very welcome.
All right, we're going to.
Oh, I thought you wanted to do the first question.
I'm doing the first question.
You are.
Okay, I'm doing the introduction as well because we are joined right now at the BPL desk. Everything's under control here. Everything's under control. We're joined at the BPL desk by our favorite local woman, media maven Sue O'Connell. She's co-publisher of Bay Windows and South End News, commentator and news influencer.
I am indeed.
At NBC in 10 Boston, and most importantly, she just rode into town from Halifax, Nova Scotia.
I did indeed.
On a 45-foot tall spruce tree.
Well, it's not here yet. The tree's not here yet. The tree is coming, but it's not here yet.
But tell us, you were just up in...
I know. Good for Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I mean, you are a real reporter up there at the scene of the crime. Let's play a little sound from Mayor Wu, who spoke to a crowd in Nova Scotia after helping to cut down, and you're going to tell us all about this, the city's tree. And she took shots at the Trump administration, of course. Here's part of her speech, courtesy of your station, Sue, NBC 10 Boston.
Boston refuses to bow down to chaos and cruelty, even when it's coming from our own federal government. So I wanted to be here to say thank you for continuing this special tradition, and I want to affirm how important this friendship is to the people of Boston, no matter what is happening at other levels of government.
So how did this come about?
So, I think it's important. We have taken this tree in our relationship with Nova Scotia for granted.
We have.
And our relationship with Canada, I think. And I've been covering this story for 10 years. I interviewed author John Bacon 10 years ago, who wrote a book about the Halifax explosion and why we get the tree. But like any other thing, until you're actually there and experience it, you don't really understand how important this relationship is and what happened. So to back up a little bit, in 1917, Halifax, the port, is where a lot of ships sailed across to Germany in World War I. Canada and the United States were war allies, but we were not necessarily friends. In fact, just a few years ago, before that, the Speaker of the House had demanded that we go to war with Canada or something. So we're allies in the war, but not friends. And a ship that is loaded with munitions that it should not be loaded with and doesn't have a flag on it like it's supposed to because of spies, bumps into another ship in the harbor of Halifax, and what happens is the most horrific man-made disaster of ever. 2,000 people end up dead. The explosion happens within minutes. People are blinded by flying glass, and an entire neighborhood, a number of miles, totally devastated, right? And this was just an accident, a wartime accident. And what happened was Boston got the call. The then governor sent 200, 300 medical professionals by train to Halifax within 10 hours, and totally was the first responder there to help our neighbors in Canada from this wartime accident. And it means so much. So many people in Halifax and in Nova Scotia have relatives who, remember relatives who were hurt in this 1917 explosion. They were blinded. Glass just flew everywhere. So it's a big deal in Nova Scotia that we responded. And in 1971, they started sending us this gift, the tree that stands at Boston Common. And it's not a tree that they grow in the forest or they grow on a farm, even though they're the major, Canada obviously a major provider of our holiday trees. It's an honor for one of the neighbors to grow it in their yard and send it. You have to meet a certain criteria. So we were in someone's backyard in Lunenburg County. That's where Mayor Wu was giving the speech, to cut down this 42-foot tree that this family had hoped for the past 5 years would grow big enough to send to us, right? And there's school children there, and all through, Halifax, we were there. Matt Pritchard and I, our NBC 10 political reporter, when you say you were from Boston, they go, "Oh, we're sending you the tree. We're sending you the tree. Thank you for your help," right? So this sort of thing we take for granted. Like we mentioned it at the tree lighting, there's a sign. Big, big, big deal in Halifax. So first I say, why didn't Menino or Walsh or anyone else ever go up there? I mean, it's obviously an important thing. But Mayor Wu decided to go up because not only is it a tree opportunity, we are major trade partners with Canada, and they are major mad at us, major angry that Donald Trump suggested they become a state.
The 51st state. They should be mad.
Major upset about the tariff. I mean, they send, Nova Scotia exports 70% to the United States of its exports, and it's a $27 billion trade exchange between Canada and New England, not the United States.
Wow.
Okay, so this for Mayor Wu was a trade mission. She went and visited with all sorts of officials all week long. It was a major story. If you Google, Mayor Wu Canada in the Canadian newspapers, you'll see it was wall-to-wall coverage of her going there. And many people, I was standing next to an 80-year-old former elected official in these people's backyard, watching Mayor Wu give this speech. He had no idea of the Democratic Party right there.
Wow.
They were so warmly welcoming her, and I had one of my, when you're covering a story and you think something's going to go terribly wrong and you get a little anxious, right?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
So Mayor Wu puts on the hard hat, she puts on the overalls, and she has a chainsaw, and I'm having, God love him, Mike Dukakis flashbacks in the tank, right? I'm so worried that oh my gosh, this is so anxious. And you've got this Canadian trade school instructor who's got the long white beard. He's wearing a Bruins shirt, even though he's a Canadians fan.
The lumberjack look.
Yep, lumberjack look. And he's got all the students from the trades, and they're in the backyard, and all the kids are screaming, and Wu takes that chainsaw, and he's teaching her how to cut it. And of course, because she's a show-off, she absolutely can do it correctly, right? Because she can play piano, she can speak 28 languages. And then he gives this speech after they cut the tree down, and they hoist it up, and they put it on, basically affirming that no matter what happens between the governments, the people of Canada and the neighbors in the United States, especially between Nova Scotia, Halifax, and Boston and New England, we have a relationship that should be about people and neighbors helping each other.
Oh, good.
But I got to tell you, they're really mad at us.
They are.
They are really unhappy.
They should be.
We went out to dinner, and one of my colleagues ordered a Jack Daniels, and they said, we don't have it. No Jack Daniels.
Oh,
we don't
wow.
have anything from down south.
Kentucky.
Yep, and I interviewed a chocolatier, Rousseau Chocolatier. I interviewed an Aerotech company that refurbishes plane engines. They do a lot of business. Very polite, very nice, very optimistic, very much, we need to get through this so we can continue to count on doing business with the United States. So it was so odd to be in Canada, and having this be an important trade mission for the mayor of Boston,
right.
Because relationship is so rocky. It was bizarre, but it was also like a Hallmark movie when we got to cut the tree down and there was holiday music and we put the tree on the truck. It was really quite an adventure.
Well, you mentioned having some hassles getting back into the country.
Well, we were concerned. I mean, frankly, I was concerned, and I think we expected, I don't want to say expected because it wasn't, excuse me, a big number, but we had some concern that Mayor Wu might have problems,
It's okay.
getting back into the country. And
because she was the mayor?
Because she's the mayor of Boston and because they keep threatening to arrest her.
Right.
I mean, they're one
that's
the
why.
Homeland Security
that's
is
right.
saying that he wants to arrest her.
Yeah.
So here she is leaving
all
the
political
country.
enemies.
Right? So could she be detained? I mean, the border is done up in Canada.
Did she have her children with her?
She had her family with her. She had her kids
Baby
with her.
Mira?
Baby Mira was right there. Matt Pritchard has an ad issue sit-down on Sunday where he asked her if Baby Mira is a prop. So you should definitely tune in for that on Sunday.
Only a man would ask a woman.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It's all over social media. They call Baby Mira the prop all the
That's
time.
unbelievable.
But anyway, she was, and she's a delight, by the way, Baby Mira. But we had some serious small concern. The fact that we even thought this at all is really mind-blowing, that the mayor of Boston might be detained in Canada, re-entering the country because the Homeland Security Director is threatening to arrest her by running ads because we run a sanctuary city. I mean, that is what blows your mind. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, what about me? Am I going to have a hard time? So I put all of my phones on, took the face recognition off. I cleaned out all of my outtake videos of things that I do, and then I get to the desk, and they make it hard for you, right? It's a little intimidating on purpose. What are you doing here? I'm working. What do you do? I'm a journalist. Are you a reporter? No. What kind of reporter are you? And I say, a communist.
You said that?
I was so nervous. I said communist instead of commentator. Okay?
How Freudian was that slip?
Oh my God.
And then I say, and I laugh, I mean, a commentator. And he
Nope,
said,
nope, you said communist, that's what we're writing down.
And he says, well, thank goodness, because if you're a communist, there'd be more questions. Which, of course, I didn't say. It doesn't matter if I'm a communist, but I didn't. But then we walk in with Mayor Wu, and I said, well, I almost blew that. And I told her what I said, and she went, no, you didn't. I went, yes, I did say that.
And but things were okay for her.
Then
But,
she
you know,
got it.
I'm embarrassed to say, of course it would be the heightened tension.
Right. And it's something they would do for
the
performative
director, they're
reasons.
running ads saying
Right.
they're going to arrest her. They want to arrest the mayor of New York. They're going to deport him. You know, the fact that we are living in a country where a mayor who has committed no wrongdoing and has under no investigation that we know of and has no charges, we have to even be concerned that on a trade mission to get a gift from Nova Scotia that they've been giving us from 1971, that we should be concerned that you would be detained. I mean, it's crazy.
You know, I think you mentioned before other mayors having not gone, was one of the reasons that she went was because of this tension to kind of show that
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and when
Good
you're,
for her.
I mean, I was telling Jamie, the producer, I forgot that we had threatened to make them a state. Like, there's some, you know, to your kind of...
He did, yeah.
Yeah, but your Trump, list, you forget. And I'm there for like an hour, and they're like, you're not here to make us a state. You're not here to invade, are
They
you?
take
And I'm
that
like,
Canada,
of course they should.
It's a protectorate of Britain, which they've never sort of enjoyed, right? Because they're a protectorate when Britain needs them, but not the other way around.
Yeah.
They take very seriously the notion of any country trying to annex them in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, so it was, and also, I also want to say this about, I know that they don't have a First Amendment, and I know that it's a different country, and I know that they have different laws, before anybody starts texting me, but it was Remembrance Day up there on Tuesday, and in Nova Scotia, on Remembrance Day, which is their Veterans and Memorial Day, everything is closed. And everybody is wearing poppies in remembrance.
Oh.
It's not like they're having a Memorial Day liquor sale like we have, or a Veterans Day mattress sale like we have. The whole town was shut down, and everybody was honoring their veterans and their war dead. And I felt like, oh my gosh, we are terrible people in the United States.
We used to do that, yeah.
We used to do that. I mean, and it's by law, which I know we don't do that because of the First Amendment and blah, 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 which I support the First Amendment. But it would be nice if we didn't just exploit Memorial Day and Veterans Day for sales, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't want to give the rest of the story short shrift, but can you just give us an abbreviated version of your encounter with the policeman from Nova Scotia, and do it the way you just did
I
it
will.
for me.
So we're parked at the Steamship Authority doing our live shots. I'm with our photographer, and we're in a black car, and it's in
where?
Nova Scotia.
Oh, Nova Scotia,
in
okay.
Halifax, and it's Remembrance Day, so it's pouring rain. I'm like doing a weather hit for all intents and purposes, and we're sitting in the car, and we hear a little knock on the window, and Mark, my photographer, rolls down the window. Oh, excuse me, I don't want to bother you, and it's a police officer. Don't want to get you can't park here. Just want to let you know you can't park here. And we said, oh no, we're here, we're doing a live shot, and I'm digging out my ID. I'm with NBC 10. Oh, don't worry, don't rush, no worries. Who gave you permission to park here? So we say the name. Okay, no worry. You get back to your jobs. I didn't mean to disturb you. You just carry on. Have a thanks for coming, enjoy the tree, off he goes, right? And I'm thinking, can you believe in Boston be like, hey, you can't park here.
Move your car.
Get the car out of
Move
here.
your car.
And so we had several encounters with police officers, about us being on property. And you're like, who told you? Okay, enjoy. I didn't mean to bother you. Just get right back to work. And I'm like, I'm moving to Halifax.
It's very cute, really. It's lovely.
That was a great story.
Thank you.
You're like a stand-up. You're like a stand-up entertainer.
I'm available for bookings. Available for bookings. Yes.
Particularly the little bit of the Wisconsin thing going on there, too.
It's the best I can do. I'm sure I'll get some complaints about my Halifax accent.
Fargo.
A little bit of Fargo.
A little bit of Fargo going on. I like that very much.
Yeah, but they're definitely Canadian angry at us, and I can only imagine how other countries are as well, because it's crazy. It's just crazy.
I'm accepting of that anger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think it's justified. So, when I did my Thursday segment, we covered this the Supreme Court declining to take up the petition of Kim Davis, the former county clerk.
The multi-married.
Yes, despite her many divorces, personally decided that she just couldn't bring herself to issue a license to a gay couple, a marriage license. So I'd love to get your take on it, because I'll ask you the same question that Jim and Marjorie asked me does this mean that this majority on the Supreme Court is disinclined to overturn Obergefell, or do you think something else is going on here?
No, something else is definitely going on. This was a lousy case, okay? There's a number of reasons, and Andrea, you know better than I do, certainly, but, good plaintiffs make good law, right? So if you're going to try and change something major or undo something major, you need to have poster children for the defendant, for the plaintiff. So, for example, the Goodrich decision that brought us same-sex marriage, it had a number of plaintiffs. They all were, perfect plaintiffs, good-looking people, good from stable homes, and really put forth the people you would put on a poster to say, same-sex marriage is not going to hurt you. Look at these nice old people. They're not going to hurt you. And Kim Davis is not that person. She has multiple marriages and divorces. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but when you're telling other people who can marry and who can't do this or that, you need to have someone who's in better shape.
And she did it as a county clerk.
Right.
She did it in an official capacity.
And we know what she did also overstepped her authority as county clerk. So I think what this was an effort just to get rid of this and get this one out of the way, because this was not the dog that was going to hunt, and they're going to wait for a case that actually looks better to them, that they can approve to dissolve same-sex marriage rights if they have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
So this just means they cleared something that somehow got in the pipeline.
Okay, so this leaves us time, I believe, to discuss the crisis of the alligator that was found in the Charleston, little alligator. A little bit of sound here from WBZ TV4. Trevor Rochelle, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Anyway,
it's Rochelle.
Rochelle, thank you very much.
You're very
Andrea.
welcome.
The guy who found the alligator, that's the guy who found the alligator in the Charles yesterday, and he's talking about the moment he first saw the little reptile and what happened when he called animal control.
I looked down looking for fish and I saw an alligator. I thought it was fake. I didn't believe it. They thought it was crazy. The guy didn't believe me until I said I live near MIT. Then that gave them okay, maybe he's not as dumb as we thought he was.
Yeah.
So what's the story? We don't normally have little alligators.
No, and we shouldn't, because they're not going to live when the temperature drops down. They will actually, they can live in a variety of temperatures, from what I learned from our interview over at NBC 10 with what's his name, Kenny, who ended up rescuing. I mean, imagine finding it after someone lost it. It looks like this was somebody's pet.
Yeah.
Right? And people do this all the time.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Why do they do it?
You have a pet that doesn't... First of all, any pet, even like hamsters and gerbils, their lineage is not let's go out and explore. Their lineage is when's that human coming with my next meal. So when you release pets into the wild, either they end up dying really quickly, or they end up taking over. If they can actually live in the environment, they end up taking over the area.
Yeah, it's really
which is
cruel.
bad.
And in the case of an alligator, I would think it would be the latter.
Right. So this poor thing was not going to live more than the next freeze. It was already, according to the guy that found it, was already in the mud and cold. The fact that he found it, I think, is amazing. He went and found the area where it was
kind of all
reported.
curled up, too.
Yeah, it's cold-blooded. So he rescued it. It's doing fine now. I imagine we'll see a TikTok or some merch you can buy on it at the moment. But yeah, if you have pets and you don't want them, bring them to the animal shelter and donate them there. Do not release them into the wild. It's cruel, and in the best of circumstances, it dies. In the worst of circumstances, it lives, and you end up with animals that shouldn't be where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, where did he go see reptiles? There must be some zoo around here.
Well, the guy that went looking for him he owns a place called Joe's Crazy Critters. Is it crazy or crazy? Is that a typo?
No, I think
it's probably Joe. Is it crazy?
Joe Kenny's. Yeah, Joe's
Crazy Critters.
It's got 2 Z's because it's crazy.
So it is a long A.
Yeah, I
okay,
think it's Joe's
sorry.
Crazy Critters. Come on down on the Joes. Crazy critters.
I totally missed the nuance on
Yeah,
the
it's
pronunciation.
crazy.
She's on a roll today, man.
She really is.
I tell you.
I've been being
I want to know
polite
what's in
in
that
Nova Scotia.
What's in that coffee you keep sipping?
So I'm going to tell a Ruby story because I know how much Jamie loves them. So my daughter Ruby, I came back from Nova Scotia and I said, they are so polite. They are so nice. It's so refreshing how nice everyone is. I think I want to live there. And she said, they would think you're so mean.
Well,
and that's true. So yes, crazy critters.
I want to know, not that I'm a world traveler, but I have gone through Canada. You know, I did my cross-country drives years ago. The bathrooms in Canada are spotless. Are they still spotless?
No, the whole place.
Everything is spotless.
Very clean.
There's no trash.
Yeah, it's very clean.
Yeah.
Well, it's socialism. You know, I mean, this is. I always get struck by the difference between the independents. You know, I think, and not to go off on the thing here, but I think that people in countries that have strong socialism, like Canada, Great Britain, Germany, France, Australia, the Swedens and Norways, they expect the government to work for them, right? So they expect their government to do a better job cleaning things and doing things. We think the government is the enemy, right? And we have an independent viewpoint that we don't want the government telling us what to do. Meanwhile, in Canada, they say to the government, keep the streets clean, and they do. And meanwhile, we say, why are they doing it this way and what's happening? So,
and we have no bathrooms. I mean, we're like, you go to the kids, the swan boats, and you're like, porta potties is the best you can do if you can even find a porta potty.
Do it in the water.
Do it in the water. That's right.
Well, look, if anyone had a Mayor Wu bingo card and you had Mayor Wu in Nova Scotia cutting down a tree with a chainsaw, you can tick it off your bingo card because that's what happens.
But you're right. I mean, I've been to Toronto and Montreal.
Very
and
clean.
It's like you walk in and you go, did they do this just for me?
Yep.
Exactly.
Did they just because they knew I was coming? But they are. They're unbelievably clean and tidy and wonderful, and the air smells a lot different.
Yep. So look for Matt Pritchard sit down with Mayor Wu this Sunday morning.
Absolutely. We will. What time?
I don't know. 9:30. 9:30.
So what does she say when he says his mirror
I'm not
prop?
going to give it away.
Oh, yeah, that would be a spoiler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I did call Mirror the prop baby the entire trip, though.
So,
to Mayor Wu.
It's funny how nobody ever asked Jane Swift whether or not her kids were prop kids.
Oh,
she was
did.
rushing home to get them,
Right.
and she got into
props.
trouble. So you can't win.
You can't
If you're a
win.
mother, you can't win.
So, Callie, you're going to be in the lounge later tonight somewhere. People
Here all week, I assume.
I'll do a wedding if you want to book me. I mean,
Tell everybody to tip their weight. Don't forget to tip your wait staff.
So the 9 o'clock show is totally different from the 7.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
very
Sue.
much.
I'm going to come and heckle you.
Okay.
We've been
that was
speaking
great.
with Sue O'Connell, comedian extraordinaire, also the co-publisher of Bay Windows and the South End News. She's a commentator and news influencer at NBC Boston. Coming up after this quick break, we're going to end the week opening phone and text lines to ask you about your nighttime routines. I'm Andrea Cabral for Jim Browdy. She's Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR on 89.7 GBH. We're live from the BPL. We're also streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
John Lennon and Yoko Ono's message of nonviolence is pretty well known.
I think it's as simple as peace and love,
I'm Elsa Chang. John and Yoko's son, Sean Ono Lennon, talks with me about what's less understood about his famous parents, especially his mom. And we get into the new documentary 1-to-1 on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And GM Roth Design Remodeling. Dreams delivered. With custom kitchens, bathrooms, and additions. Serving New England for over 39 years. Learn more at gmroth.com. And Gordon College, helping you celebrate the holiday season with choral ensembles, instrumental performances, and a carol sing at their annual Christmas Gala, December 3rd, 5th, and 6th. Tickets at gordongala.com.
Welcome back to BPR. I am Marjorie Egan. Andrea Cabral is in for Jim Browdy, who's off today. We are live from the Boston Public Library. I'm going to mention it two more times after this. The mayor's going to be with us. We just heard the great story. November 18th, noon to 1, taking our questions and yours, and Yo-Yo Ma on the 19th, that's a Wednesday, here at the library. So we are ending this week with you and your nighttime pre-bed routines. This is inspired by a piece in The Atlantic by columnist and professional happy person, Arthur C. Brooks. We had him on. He wasn't so happy when he was here, but he writes about being happy all the time. I don't think he was in a good mood or something. Anyway, I think he's become too big of a deal, is the deal. He doesn't join us anymore, but we used to get him on. Anyway, he claims to be fine-tuning his evening ritual to try and maximize sleep and set himself up for a better life. His list includes things like eating dinner at 7, going for a 40-minute walk after dinner, leaving your phone outside the bedroom, ending your night with a prayer, and gazing into your partner's eyes. And if you don't have a partner, you can look at the dog or the cat, or maybe draw a face and look at the face. Looking eye to eye, he thinks is a big deal. So we want to know about people's nighttime rituals, whether it's talking about, getting washed, brushing your teeth, all those kinds of things. If you have a big skincare thing, apparently young children are starting skincare at an early age, which seems a little
the power
young
of influencing.
Yeah, like the weenies or something they're supposed to do, face masks or something at the age of 3. But we want to know, what's your evening pre-bedtime routine that's made a difference in your life? Washing, flossing before you go to sleep. Is it complicated? Is it not complicated? Is it a nice book with your kid as you both gently nod off on the sofa? Or if you're the parent of young kids, are you ready to shoot yourself because you've been trying to get the kid to go to bed for an hour and a half and you've passed out and the kid is still hopping up and down in the crib? 877-301-8970 is the number. 877-301-8970. Okay, Andrea, let's hear your routine.
But just as an intro to this, this is sort of more multifaceted than I thought at first blush.
Yep.
Like when we first talked about doing it as a talker, I was thinking, I'm more of a, as Sue and I were talking about it, we're both like morning routine people.
Yeah.
If I wore makeup that day, I just make sure I take my makeup off, and that's basically it. Make sure that, the face is clean and the teeth are brushed. But there is a lot greater emphasis on self-care, and for many people, that can't happen for them until the very end of the day. If they're going to pay any attention to sort of calming themselves down or trying to have some sort of an intro to a restful night, it's going to happen at night, and they're going to have to carve out some time to do it. So yes, there's definitely, the 13-year-old that's putting huge amounts of goop on her face because some influencer tells her that's what she needs and that's what she needs to buy. But there is an element of wellness to this that I think more people are looking at. But we want to hear from people as to what it is they do, and particularly from parents who, after they engage in their child's nighttime routine to get them to sleep, are so exhausted and they just pass out on the couch, so they don't have a routine for themselves.
Yeah.
But are you focused on it? Are you looking at things that you need to do to calm yourself down enough to get a decent enough night's sleep so you can face the next day? Or do you have it down to a science and you just, where you want to be at a certain time at night, emotionally, mentally, you got dinner out of the way and you're good to go? There are some people that have it knocked and some that don't.
Okay, we have people that are into this. We watch Seinfeld, get high, eat chips and nuts, and fall asleep on the couch. That's Tony from Worcester.
Tony's got it knocked.
Bedtime exercises, frownies, this texter says. Not kidding, they work and my forehead is totally smooth when I wake up. Frownies?
What a frown? Oh,
I guess you frown?
They probably things that you put on your face that straighten out the wrinkles?
I don't know. This person will have to text back and explain what they are. But she
what are
calls
frownies?
Frownies rhymes with brownies, I guess. Jesse from Cambridge, what do you think, Jesse?
Well, I eat supper at noon to get that out of the way.
Oh, that's plenty early.
There's two things. I am right now interrupting my supper. There's two things that if I don't do, it really interrupts my sleep.
Yeah.
And that's that I need to take off my shoes before I get into my sleeping bag, and I need to turn off the light.
You sleep in a sleeping bag?
Oh, yeah, for years.
Why do you do that?
I mean, I don't know. It's easy. It's really easy. There's no sheets involved.
No sheets.
And you don't have to make the bed in the next day.
You don't have to take the pillows off the bed, put the pillows on the bed, that kind of thing. You can just skip all that. No, I get it. Okay. All right.
Okay.
And Jesse, just one last thing. Okay, if you're eating now, it's 1:30, and you usually eat at noontime. Don't you get a little hungry by like 7 o'clock?
No, I graze.
Oh, you graze. Okay. All right. Okay.
You know, the main meal is actually right now.
Okay, Jesse, thank you very much for the call. Now, we have the picture of the frownies. I guess you put these
they're like patches
all over your forehead so you don't get furrowed brows.
You don't get furrowed brows.
The problem is you will get furrowed brows because everybody frowns, right?
Well, they do, but I guess when you're asleep, especially if you're in REM sleep and you're dreaming and you're making all kinds of faces that you're not conscious of, maybe you get more wrinkles at night. I don't know.
Okay. Pond's cold cream is the thing that Elizabeth Warren talks about. You ever noticed Elizabeth Warren's got great skin for somebody who is not a young woman?
My mother actually used to use that, Pond's cold cream. That's definitely an oldie but a goodie.
Yep. Well, she said this happened when she saw her older cousin named Tootsie at a family event years ago, and she was looking at Tootsie, and this was when Elizabeth Warren was back in her 20s, and she said, "Toots, how do you have such gorgeous skin?" And Tootsie, or Toots said, "Pond's moisturizer," and that was it for Elizabeth Warren.
It's still a good product. I don't think they've ever changed the formula, and it's excellent for that stuff.
I'm a Pond's cold cream person myself.
You could
for the eye makeup, take it off with the Pond's cold cream.
You could go the other route. Andy from Foxborough says his nighttime routine is scotch. Andy's keeping it short and sweet. It's scotch, that's it, and then Andy's in bed. That's it.
Nancy on the road, what do you think, Nancy?
Hi, Nancy.
Hello. Hi there. I decided a couple years ago to have, I'm getting an echo.
That's okay, it's our fault.
I incorporated a nighttime instead of just a morning routine. And it doesn't matter how late my day is ending, I force myself to do 10 minutes of yoga stretches before bed.
Wow.
And socks on my feet when I go to bed, and it really does help a lot.
I think that's true. I actually do think socks on the feet because it just makes your feet warm. There's something comforting. It's like almost a security blanket, but it's only on one part of your body.
When you're in bed or when you're doing the yoga exercises?
Oh, I do it when I'm in bed, especially once it starts to get cool.
Okay. Nancy, that's very impressive. We were talking before the show, and I think the problem with the nighttime routine is you have to do it early in the evening because you're too tired to do the nighttime routine. You know what I mean? If you're going to really...
It's kind of a mid-afternoon routine.
Yeah, if you're going to really dental floss, and because most people don't really like to dental floss that much, if you're going to do all that tooth stuff, you better start like at 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, because by the time it gets to be 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30, and you're too tired, I mean, you're going to really do all that?
I think it kind of depends. I mean, I think for some people, routine is comforting.
Yeah.
So just doing that every single night, knowing that maybe it's less steps that you have to do in the morning. Mm-hmm. All I know is that it's really bad for you to go to sleep with makeup on, and that's the only thing that drives me if I'm wearing makeup that day to take it off.
877-301-8970 is the number. We're talking about nighttime routines. As one of the callers, and maybe Andrew said, somebody said, we've put a lot of emphasis on morning routines.
Right.
You know, I suppose if you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's better than getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning is quite early. But if you get up you have your routine in the morning. But this is a nighttime routine. It's based on this guy named Arthur Brooks, who is a big deal now. He's written all these books about happiness. He's the happiness columnist for The Atlantic. He used to be on our show, but not anymore. He doesn't come out with us. He's become too big a deal, we think, Andrea. That's the story.
I want to know where the parents are that have like 3 or 4 kids to put to bed, and they're doing it in shifts.
Well, yeah.
Trying to get them to sleep.
You know what you do? Many people have tried this. You know, if you have several children, I have 3 children, sometimes, what you do is you get a big bed, and then you just all put everybody in the same bed, and you all go to sleep in the same bed. And if it's big enough, you can fit 5 people in the bed. That's been my experience, Andrew. You know what I mean?
Well, I have heard that if you can get your kids accustomed to a routine, that they get used to it, and they just sort of expect it, so it makes it easier for you. So the more regular you are with them, the easier, I guess, it is on you when it comes time to do a leave time. time for you to do your own stuff.
My grandchildren have the white noise in their room. They each have their little white noise
We got
machines.
a couple of texters saying that the whale sounds and white
Whales,
noise.
ocean waves. You have to talk to it. You have to say Google ocean waves or Google white sound. I remember I was babysitting and I couldn't figure out how to get the machine on to do the white noise, and the bedtime never came. 877-301-8970. How do you deal with putting your children to bed, yourself to bed? Do you think there's anything to this? And do you think that people have to start out at 3 years old? Little children, these toddlers, mask. I guess you buy Rini on Instagram, and you put face masks on 3-year-olds because the 3-year-olds are seeing this.
What?
So yeah.
That's insane.
Yes, well, that was the question. A dermatologist weigh in on whether or not 3-year-olds need face masks. The dermatologist says you might not be surprised or saying that they don't, but some people are buying them anyway.
Of course they don't. Emily from Ipswich says, I watch a couple of episodes of Judge Judy. I feel like a real winner when I turn the TV off.
Hello? Yeah. Here's a good one. No matter how tired I am, I set up the coffee maker and 2 cups at night. You'd be surprised how nice it is to wake up in the morning and just throw the switch, hop in the shower, and come out to a nice cup of coffee. I've heard a lot of people debate whether they make coffee at night or they make the coffee in the morning, because if you make it at night or have it prepared to go at night, then it's set for you in the morning.
Yeah, the setup. Most people, I've heard from a lot of people that they like the setup, and they have it automatically. They have a timer on it on a lot of coffee pots where it'll just go off anyway at a certain time, and people wake up to the smell of it, and that becomes part of their routine as well.
We'd also like to hear from people that are inspired by Arthur Brooks, I should say, who writes the happiness columns for Atlantic Magazine. How many of you out there lock eyes with your partner before you go to sleep?
Oh my goodness. No.
877-301-8970 is
Elisa
the number.
from Norwell says, I love my bedtime ritual of reading to my kids. My 13-year-old aged out, but my 10-year-old still enjoys it. I'm dreading the end of that part of the bedtime routine. That is a time for parents to decompress. Goodnight Moon is a great decompressor story.
Yeah.
Maybe not after you've had to read it every night for 6 months, 2 or 3 times, but it is. I mean, that is a relaxing thing, and it's quality time.
Okay, Paul from Fort Lauderdale says he always leaves his shoes on when he goes into his sleeping bag. I think it's a little strange to sleep in a sleeping bag, don't you think?
I think you're slowly becoming fixated on Paul and his sleeping bag.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you would leave your shoes on in the sleeping bag. That is a little unusual.
Okay. The reason we're talking about this is because, as I said before, people did not used to have a big nighttime routine.
No.
I think it has a lot to do with social media too. Now they're more fixated on nighttime routines because they can't get to sleep.
Right, because the anxiety it's really decompressing. The anxiety does build up over the day. Remember when the only nighttime routine anybody could really readily talk about was at the end of the Waltons, where they would all say goodnight to each other. Good night, John Boy. Good night, Ma. Good night, Pa. And people thought that was, hysterical. Now people have a whole thing. There are people that have lists of the things they do at night before they go to bed.
Listen to this. This is from Chris in Boston. An hour before bed, I turn down my bed, turn off the lights, light a candle, and an hour later the room smells great. Then I put on my night blinders, turn on ocean wave sound machine. He's got one of those sound machines too. Turn the phone off and close up the tomb for the night.
That is the person who is definitely looking to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
My nighttime is basic, but wanted to tell about my 3-year-old great-grandson. Bath time, 7:30 to 8, while listening to the Fleetwood Mac Rumors album. That is a great album.
That is a good album.
If he hears that music at other times of the day, he's very confused. It is his nighttime ritual.
Avery in Worcester goes for a midnight walk. You can't express how great a midnight walk is. I guess it depends kind of on where you live and how safe it is to do that at midnight. But yeah, it's probably at a time when it's the most quiet. And so you can just sort of enjoy your neighborhood and not have to really think about much.
Do you have your phone in your room at night?
I do, but I usually don't have the ringer way up, or I'll turn off notifications.
Yeah, you're supposed to not have your phone in your
Anywhere
room,
near you,
anywhere
yeah.
near. But I think that's hard for people because they're afraid that people are going to call them in an emergency during the night and they want to be able to reach them. Kathy says she rubs Tiger Balm into her sore muscles as needed. That's that stuff you can buy it at CVS. It smells really strong. You can use it for back pain all the time. Yeah. And we have a commentator who says, I think your happiness guy, Mr. Brooks, stopped coming on the show because Jim is too grumpy.
Oh, you know what? That could be. We won't rule it out. We're not sure, but we won't rule it out. We have somebody who said, I had 7 implants, and my teeth routine now takes 19 minutes. That's a long time. It's twice a day.
They have what?
They had nine implants.
9
teeth
implants.
implanted.
Oh, wow.
Twice a day, 19 minutes, giant water flosser, and 2 thicknesses of proxy brushes. But this person says they don't mind because now they can smile.
19 minutes is a lot to expect.
19 minutes is a lot.
You better start that at 6:30 at night.
And it's twice a day. It's not just at night. It's twice a day. So, but good for you if you've got a smile you're proud of.
Okay, I'm looking for some good texts. We don't have any phone calls. No one is calling us about
No,
this.
you know what? They're all getting ready to go to
if
bed.
You haven't
and they're figuring out what
if
their
you're
nighttime
waiting to
routine
call,
is.
usually we're full up with calls, but if you want to call, 877-301-8970 is the number. The cannabis people are weighing in. A lot of people do. They do the indica, the make you sleepy marijuana.
Right. The sativa actually kind of keeps you awake. But no, the fact that we now have gummies, right? So people, you don't have to smoke. You don't have to draw that into your lungs. Gummies are, they haven't replaced wine. I don't think anything will ever replace wine, but they are right alongside wine in terms of how people use that to relax at the end of the day. And there's not a huge number of wine bottles in your recycling, so your neighbors don't think you're a wino.
But I thought wine was supposed to keep you awake. Don't they say booze is bad for sleeping?
Depends on how people react to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that definitely feel like wine relaxes them and then they can go to bed. But gummies are very much in use. People don't talk about it a lot, but for adults, gummies are very much in use to decompress at the end of the day.
I remember the first time I ever went to the marijuana store in Brookline when marijuana first became legal.
I remember when you didn't want to go there because you thought somebody was going to see you.
Well, that's it.
Hilarious.
Everybody's looking. A lot of the people are like older. I mean, we're talking like post 40.
The average age is 36.
Okay, the average age is 36. So when you look around, most everybody's over 40. But you could tell people were very worried about running into somebody that they knew at the marijuana store. And I did indeed run into somebody I knew at the marijuana store. And the first thing she said was, I'm only here because I can't sleep, and this is supposed to help me get the gummies so I can go to sleep at night. The people were confessing to each other, about why they were at the marijuana store.
But that's what I don't get, is why should I be worried about running into you at the marijuana store? You're here too. I mean, right? So I shouldn't be, if you're here to buy the same thing I'm here to buy. So, but yeah, no, but there was a lot of that in the beginning.
Yeah, well, I think it's still there to some degree.
Well, it depends on who you are. People have gotten a lot more used to it. It's a lot more commonplace. I think, like I said, it was going to take a while for people's palates to be sharpened around it, and I think a lot of that has happened.
We have a call.
Karen is in the car.
Karen in the car. Thank you for calling.
Hi. Nice to hear you guys. I'm a long-time listener.
Thank you.
My evening routine is I have to have a ceiling fan going, even in the winter. I have a white noise machine. I have to have darkened shade. Has to be totally dark. And I also need to have the window open slightly because I need to have that cool, fresh air. The colder it is, I think I sleep better.
Wow, the window open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me too. I'm a window open person. I like the window open. Yeah, or there's not enough circulation of air in the room. The air seems dead in the room. And they also say you're not supposed to sleep. Isn't 62 degrees supposedly the best temperature for sleeping at night, Karen? I think it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I would definitely say 62.
Yeah.
My wife likes it really warm, and I am the total opposite. So we always have this battle between the fan being on and the fan not being on. So that's our big battle.
Well, Karen, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the call. 877-301-8970.
I'm a law enforcement person. I'd never leave a window open.
You wouldn't leave a window open?
Never leave a window unlocked. I don't care what floor I'm on.
Because you think the murderers are going to climb in through the window?
if you knew the stories that I knew about how people have gained entry into people's houses, you would never leave a window open.
Mary from Maine, thank you for calling.
Hi, I'm 67 years old. I moved to Maine about a year ago, and the nights are very, very long up here. So I prepare my house, I prepare the coffee, I prepare everything, and I grow my own pot plant, and I make brownies, and I take my little tiny bit of brownie around 7:30, and I'm in bed by 8:30, and I sleep beautifully. And
Very nice.
Not one day goes by where I don't take that little brownie, and I sleep all night long.
So, Mary, you talked about it being cold up there. That expression, Three Dog Night, remember that song that was around, I don't know if it's the 60s or 70s, that song,
There was
Three
a
Dog
group,
Night.
Three Dog Night.
Yeah, Three Dog Night was the group. That's because that's what they talked about, that it was such a cold night they had to have 3 dogs in the bed before they could in it. Does that happen to you, Mary?
It's so long and so cold up here.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You know, it's beautiful. I love the state, but boy, the days are really long and it gets very cold.
Well,
that little brownie helps every single night.
Mary, thank you very much for that call. Here's an anonymous texter. The way things are headed with this administration, a fifth of vodka and passing out on the couch is the way I'm going, and hope for a better tomorrow. And TJ says...
They should get together with TJ, right?
TJ says, yeah. Step 1, lie down. Step 2, bang my head on the wall until I fall asleep.
TJ, if you do the fifth of vodka, you might not have to bang your head on the wall. So get a hold of Anonymous. Then another texter says cannabis and Star Trek.
Cannabis and Star Trek. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's another form of Mary. She's got the brownie going. Some people have the edibles going. I know somebody does the cookies. They do chocolate chip cookies infused with marijuana every night. It's cured their sleep problems.
Well, so you get dessert and you get a nice
Exactly.
high.
But then what about brushing your teeth? You have to have the cookie early enough in the evening that you can go in there and dental floss with a water pick for 19 minutes like the person before. Paul in the car, thank you for calling.
Hello.
Hi. Paul.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a nut. I've had the same breakfast for about 30 years. I have oatmeal and egg white, but I prepare everything. You know, the oatmeal's out.
Oatmeal.
I get the eggs.
We thought you said opium. Everybody on this show, everybody thought you said opium. And you said opium and eggs. You said oatmeal, right?
I hear it's fantastic.
Well, you know, I'm gonna start having opium and eggs.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, the pan goes out. I put grapeseed oil in my frying pan.
Wow.
I have a little pan for the water. I've got to take blood pressure and cholesterol medication. I take that out.
He's got a routine.
Get a whole deal. I make the coffee. It's about a 10-minute deal, and to get everything planned out perfectly. And it's a calming effect because I know when I wake up, I don't have to think about it.
Paul, that was wonderful. That was wonderful. Okay, we're going to wrap this up with the final text here. Anonymous texter says, I like to stick needles in my Trump voodoo doll every night. So relaxing. That's Spencer in Cambridge.
Well, that's good. Well, I mean, listen, everybody's different. We just hope you find peace. That's basically
That's right. Now, Jared, we always ask Jared.
Yes, and I'm sure this is going to be absolutely hilarious.
Do you have a routine?
This is none of your business. This is none of your business.
Cold cream? Pod's cold cream.
I'm not telling you a thing about my nighttime routine.
Do you have that white
You
noise
have to buy the
machine?
video. That's fine.
Really? La-di-da. Yeah, okay. All right. You don't want to give us any little hints at all?
No, but no.
Oh, Jared. Jared keeps us guessing. It's a very sexy move.
I think he just opens the window and screams into the void. And
Well, this is what I want to go back to. What do you know about open windows that none of us should be doing it?
No, it's just, I'm just very cognizant of the ingenuity people exhibit in order to commit a crime. And I have had lots of cases where people have done just that.
That's right. That's right.
Like pull a lift up against a window.
You just don't make it any easier. Like, I'm one of those people that always, whenever you watch a movie and you see somebody that breaks into someone's house, grabs a knife from the knife block and stabs them to death, I always think to myself, why did you leave the weapon of your demise out for the burglar to use.
That's a very good point.
People do that all the time. I would no more have a block of knives on my kitchen counter because...
Where do you put the knives?
Well, it's almost like the person...
On the ceiling?
But the person... No, put them in a drawer.
Chuck it up at the end.
Make them work for it. Put it in a drawer. The person comes in and goes, I was just going to rob you, but you talked me into stabbing you while I was here. You had a knife block on the counter. Don't do that.
See, I have my knives in a drawer, and I love that. I was saved by being organized.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a safety maneuver.
Don't put ideas in people's heads.
You want to
If
be
they're there
at
to do one
least
thing,
on the third floor
don't make
up.
it easier
You
for
want
them
to
to
be
do
the third
two.
floor up. I think that reduces your chances.
But now after the Louvre, they can just pull
After
a lift
the Louvre,
up right up to your
a
third
ladder.
floor.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
And if they use a weapon that you provide, they leave it there, then they're not bringing a weapon to the
Scene of the crime.
So when they get caught, they can say, I wasn't planning, it wasn't premeditated. She invited me to do it.
What's doing, Jared?
I'm just saying.
We're going to talk about the Pope's movie list today.
Oh,
that
the
came
Pope
out
has a movie list?
He has a movie list that just came out. Also, what just came out, The Devil Wears Prada teaser trailer. So we get our first look at
I didn't
what
even know there was a
this.
sequel.
I know. 2026 is shaping up to be a great movie year because Adele is also taking her first acting role.
Excuse
so
me.
we'll talk about that, and then the new inductees into the Folk Americana Hall of Fame here in Boston. So lots to cover today.
Jared, thank you very much. Andrea.
All right, I'll
thank
do the
you
I'll
very
do the
much.
outro.
You do the outro.
All right. Thank you all for listening, tolerating us for another edition of BPR, and thanks to everybody who came down to see the show at the BPL. Keep up with us 24/7 by way of our podcast. Check out our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio. Please tune in on Monday. Jim Browdy slithers back into the studio. Jim, I didn't write that. He and Marjorie will talk with GOP Chair Amy Cannavale and Mass Dems Chair Steve Kerrigan. I don't know who wrote that. For a politics panel. Plus Amherst College's Ilan Stabbins and Princeton's Khalil Gibran Muhammad. And after more than a quarter of a century in prison for a crime he maintains he never committed, Ricky McGee is free. He joins us with his partner, Jacqueline Fonseca. Our crew, who is fabulous, is Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Nicole Garcia, and Hannah Loss. Our engineer is John the Claw Parker. Our executive producer is Jamie Bologna. Our special thanks to the BPL staff. That's Francis and Juan Jose Cadena. We also thank our hosts at the Newsfeed Cafe and across the street at the Lenox Hotel. Stay tuned. The Culture Show's Week in Review starts live immediately following us on 89.7 GBH. Live from the BPL studio, I'm Andrea Cabral.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Andrea, thanks again.
You're very welcome. Have a great weekend and hope you tune in on Monday.
Bye-bye.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Moderna. mNEXSpike COVID-19 vaccine, mRNA, by Moderna is available. More information about mNEXSpike is available from pharmacists and medical providers. Don't miss the incredible story of how America's founding turned the world upside down. The American Revolution, a new 6-part 12-hour documentary from Ken Burns, premieres Sunday at 8 on GBH2.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, move over Holy Trinity, here comes a Fab Four. If you notice some cinematic white smoke rising over the Vatican, that was Pope Leo making a very different kind of proclamation.
My 4 favorite films.
His choices are wholly eclectic. From the fraught family drama Ordinary People.
I didn't lie. You did. You lied every time you came into this house at 6:30. If it's starting all over again, the lying, the covering up, the disappearing for hours, I will not stand for it. I can't stand it. I really can't. Well, don't then. Go to Europe.
To the classic It's a Wonderful Life, a film powered entirely by divine intervention.
You sent for me, sir?
Yes, Clarence. A man down on Earth needs our help.
Splendid. Is he sick?
No, worse. He's discouraged. At exactly 10:45 p.m. Earth time, that man will be thinking seriously of throwing away God's greatest gift.
Oh, dear, dear, his life. Then I've only an hour to dress.
Then from heavenly bodies to the hell of high fashion. A teaser trailer for The Devil Wears Prada 2 has dropped, with Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway back in their gloriously antagonistic roles.
Miranda? Took you long enough.
Plus, the Grammys recently added 2 more country categories. Now, should they also make room for artificial intelligence? The AI-generated Walk My Walk has climbed the charts, but if authenticity is the soul of country music, who's walking the walk when AI is leading the way?
You can kick rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk. Ain't changing my tone, ain't changing my song. I was born this way, been loud.
And after 232 years in circulation, the U.S. Mint has stamped its last penny. Small but mighty, its legacy carries more weight than it's worth. From flipping them into fountains for a wish, to the good luck that comes to those who find one.
Is that what I think it is?
Mm-hmm.
I found a penny! Could this be the best day of my life?
Now, with the inevitability of change, people are offering their 2 cents on the end of an era.
I just decided I was done with pennies. The economics of them didn't make sense.
Personally, I don't use the penny. They slosh around in my pocket all the time, you know what I mean? But, I like them.
We take on that and more right now on our Week in Review.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
Might I perhaps win my wings? I've been waiting for over 200 years now, sir, and people are beginning to talk.
Clarence, you do a good job with George Bailey, and you'll get your wings.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome to The Culture Show, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming on our GBH News YouTube channel. I'm Jared Bowen.
I'm Callie Crossley.
And I'm Edgar B. Hurwitz III. We're going over the week's top arts and culture headlines, starting with Pope Leo XIV. He has lifted the veil on an unexpected canon, his 4 favorite films. They are It's a Wonderful Life, The Sound of Music, Ordinary People, and Life is Beautiful. He's sharing his watch list ahead of the Vatican's Saturday meeting with the world of cinema, a first-of-its-kind movie star summit inside the Apostolic Palace. Well, this is a pope who right out of the gate, maybe it makes sense, the first American pope, is being very pop culturally literate, and he's having all of these movie stars. He's already met with Al Pacino, already met with Robert De Niro, and now he's got everybody from Adam Scott to Cate Blanchett and Spike Lee, Viggo Mortensen, all coming for this little movie party at the Vatican this weekend, but of course also sending a signal with his very varied, eclectic collection of favorite films.
Well, first we should say he's just not having a party. It's part of Jubilee, and that started last year.
It's a party within a party.
Okay, but we should say
a party you only have every 25 years.
It's official party, and it's going to go through January 2026 next year. I mean, I just love this. I love that he's very open about the kinds of films about meeting these people, and we're not surprised, are we, that the films are pretty much uplifting in the end. I mean, there's a little drama in a few of them, but in the end, it's all a good story, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So there's a few things here. One, I think, yes, he's definitely taking a little bit of a page, and I don't know that this is that unexpected. I think a lot of people felt that he was going to continue some of the stuff that we saw Pope Francis doing, who had that, kind of ability to have that common touch sort of thing. Remember Pope Francis near the end of his life had all those comedians who came and hung out at the Vatican.
Fun.
So this is kind of, of a piece with that. I think it makes sense. I do think with the movies, I hear what you're saying, but to me there is one that is not like the others, right? So when I look
Ordinary
at
People?
Yeah. So It's a Wonderful Life, The Sound of Music, and Life is Beautiful, right? They all have, there's a darkness kind of at the core of all of those movies, but there's this like finding joy in darkness theme, right? Ordinary People is, I would argue, a little bit more kind of actually dark and contemplative. It feels a little different, and I find that very interesting. That choice is really interesting to me.
Well, wait. First, I want to say I don't find that interesting because faith is about struggle.
No, of course.
And so I think that film, illustrates the struggle of, trying to find the humanity and all of that. So the darkness plays a part, I would say. What do you say?
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of conversation about family values, too, which people have been talking about with that film. And yes, exactly, how they respond to tragedy. He's also somebody who's been deeply steeped in movies as is slowly leaking out. We learned not too long after he became Pope that he had actually watched Conclave before entering the Conclave. And then there's a new documentary, Leo from Chicago, which is produced by the Vatican, admittedly. But we have the picture here, if you're streaming on our GBH News YouTube channel or here at the library, that he loved one film in particular in his youth, and here you'll see that he was dressed up as one of the Blues Brothers. So there has been an evolution as Pope Leo has gone from the Blues Brothers to It's a Wonderful Life and Sound of Music. It's a wide path from Sound of Music to Blues Brothers.
I was kind of hoping for him to be like, I love The Untouchables and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like, give me those Chicago movies, you know what I mean? But lo and behold, no.
Did we confirm that there is a screening room at the Vatican?
Well, we confirmed that maybe not in the majestic way that a lot of Hollywood stars have it in California. Maybe he's got them in so he can have a little design session and figure out how to build it out. But there actually is more of a screening space within the Vatican where these films can be watched.
Yeah, it's in the Vatican. They have a film library.
They call it a projection hall.
Yeah, and so they have a projector in there, and I think it can house about 54 people is what they say. So
and
there is a spot.
He can get whatever popcorn he wants.
Although there was that fun thing, his predecessor, Pope Francis, right, who had sworn off TV at one point, right? He made that prayer or whatever. But he also apparently liked movies. And back when he was the Archbishop in Argentina, apparently he didn't have the TV. So he would rent DVDs and then send them to the local Catholic station and have them play them or something like that, which is kind of crazy.
You got to do what you got to do.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how much he continues down this cultural path and what other kinds of summits he creates. Musicians, for instance, artists. And of course, this isn't anything new. We think of the Sistine Chapel. The arts have always been incorporated into the Vatican. This is just a different, more modern version of it. So it'll be fascinating to follow how he uses that to speak to his constituency.
I think it's also interesting for us as Americans and him as the first American Pope. There's a level of sort of mystery and mystique to the office of being Pope, But I think some of that, and I think we talked about this on the show, some of that, there is a demystification because we're like, well, he's just a guy from Chicago. He's an American dude, right? So that sort of common touch thing, things like this, they seem kind of more of a natural fit to us, I think.
Well, from Pope Leo, the saintly cinephile, to Hollywood summoning the devil we know. The first teaser trailer for The Devil Wears Prada 2 just dropped. Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway are reunited in a fashion world that's sure to be more chic and savage than ever. This has a lot of people excited. This drops with the Madonna Vogue. Callie's pointing to herself. Callie, you and I will be racing to the movie front doors on this one. So Madonna doing Vogue. This is the backdrop to this, and it calls back all of that terror / delicious camp from the first one when we follow these heels, which I think are Valentino studded heels, if I'm to be correct.
Yes, good eye, Jared.
Clacking down the hallway, and then we see ultimately Miranda and is it Miranda? It's
Andy, yeah.
And Andy, Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway in the elevator together, and I think a lot of decoding is being done in the body chemistry between the two women there.
I mean, I think it shows, this is 20 years since the film. Anne Hathaway was 23 when she did the original film in 2006, and now she's 40-something. So we see her exquisitely dressed, and it appears the same level with Miranda in the elevator. And I just can't wait for all of my favorite lines from Miranda. She says in the elevator, well, it took you long enough, but my favorite, of course, please move at a glacial pace. You know how that thrills me.
Oh, that was from the movie. That wasn't from you.
That's why you're always saying that to me. You're quoting a movie. I see.
That's good.
I've heard that in the office. Let's hear a little bit more before we get to you, Edgar. Here's a scene from the original in which Miranda Priestley, played by Meryl Streep, schools her young assistant Andy, played by Anne Hathaway.
In 2002, Oscar de la Renta did a collection of cerulean gowns, and then I think it was Yves Saint Laurent, wasn't it, who showed cerulean military jackets. I think we need a jacket here. And then cerulean quickly showed up in the collections of 8 different designers. And then it filtered down through the department stores and then trickled on down into some tragic casual corner where you no doubt fished it out of some clearance bin. However, that blue represents millions of dollars and countless jobs. And it's sort of comical how you think that you've made a choice that exempts you from the fashion industry when in fact you're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff.
That was an epic smackdown.
Yeah, so and
Meryl Streep. I mean, really.
Obviously that's a very famous monologue from the first movie. Apparently, the casting call for this movie, it went under the title Cerulean. So, like when they were doing casting for this one, a reference to that. Yeah, I mean, this is interesting because I think a lot of people are really excited about this. It has all of the it's sort of, I feel like I'm sitting here fingers crossed. Like I hope it is at least half as good as people hope it's going to be. And they've done about everything you can do, right? Everybody who was involved in the first one, which was a huge hit and a great film, are involved in this one.
Except for one, the boyfriend.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But for the most part, including the creative team, right, including the writer, and so the first one was based on a book, right, and then there was the sequel to the book, and this is at least loosely going to be based on the sequel to the book. Now, my understanding, I have not read either of the books, but the second book kind of got mixed reviews at best, right?
Yes.
So, source material maybe not quite as sharp as the first movie.
I think a simpler way to put it is it's based on Anna Wintour.
Yes, that's correct.
That's the beginning and the end.
Yes.
No, I think you can uncross fingers because Meryl Streep really doesn't make bad choices.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
Sometimes the movies haven't been as successful, but she's so deliberate, and I think we know that anytime she enters the room, as Miranda Priestley as otherwise, everybody automatically ups their game because it's Meryl Streep in the room. But I think this is going to be so much fun, hugely enjoyable. Kenneth Branagh, B.J. Novak, Sydney Sweeney, Lucy Liu, this whole cast, which is on board for this as well. And again, this dynamic that we'll see play out should be really, really interesting.
Yes, because tales of your incompetence do not interest me.
Wait, was that Callie or is that Miranda?
That's all.
All right, well, next, rumor has it, that Adele is making her acting debut.
Starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear.
She's going to make her acting debut in Cry to Heaven, Tom Ford's upcoming film based on the Anne Rice novel about the rivalries and passions about 18th century opera. Actually, it's confirmed that she's doing that because after conquering the music charts, she's indeed saying hello to Hollywood. Are you going to be lining up for this? Are we beating to the door on this one too?
You know, I love Adele. I'm not such a big fan of Anne Rice's content. Her talent is, of course, right there. She writes beautifully. I just don't generally like her, the plot.
The stories.
Yes,
yeah.
But, I will be extremely tempted because this lineup, I mean, she's there with Thandie Newton and the young man, Owen Cooper, who was so stellar in his first-time job out in adolescence. I mean, the cast is incredible. So I think with a really good screenplay, and I don't think this guy would take this on if he didn't have one because it's too weird a plot to just mess with.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued by this, in part because I'm very intrigued by Tom Ford just as a person and his very kind of unorthodox career, so to speak. I mean, I think he studied architecture, worked his way into the fashion world, right? Got into filmmaking. There's clearly some sort of restless muse in him, and he's kind of created his own shape of a career. And so I think the idea that somebody like an Adele, who when you listen to her musically, you can see why somebody might listen to her sing and watch her perform and say, hey, I think there's an actor in here, right? There's an innate drama to what she's doing. And somebody like Tom Ford, who's had sort of an unorthodox path into this world, tapping somebody like Adele on the shoulder and saying, let's partner up in this, I think has the makings of something that could be really, really good.
It's kind of reminiscence of Steven Spielberg picking Oprah Winfrey.
Well, partly why I thought we should talk about it on the show today was because if you think back, there's Judy Garland, and although she really started out as an actor and then blossomed into a singer as well, but Lady Gaga, Barbara Streisand, people who were taken from the concert world, Bette Midler, another one.
Tupac Shakur.
Absolutely, coming from music and then being put on stage and or screen and then really flourishing because people recognize their talent. And I think I absolutely agree with you, Edgar. If you look at A Single Man and Nocturnal Animals, Tom Ford's last two films, you see his films are so sumptuous in the lighting and the texture and the costumes and the sets. Everything, as you can imagine from a fashion designer, is designed so well, but including his selection of talent. And so I think that we have every reason to have complete faith in this project. And by the way, he said that as he's stepping away from fashion, which he calls a young man's game, because it's so grueling and so tough. I just learned a lot about this actually through interviewing Andrew Ginn in that fabulous show at the Peabody Essex Museum. He walked away from it because it was literally detrimental to his health, because you just have to pump out and pump out and pump out. He said it was like launching a movie every month. But Tom Ford has recognized that at 62, he only has so much time left, and he really wants to put his all for the rest of his creative life, and maybe even his entire life, into making films. So there's somebody who's also bringing that level of passion to all of this.
And promise. I mean, you know, he's 2 for 2.
And also Adele sort of had said she was going to do another film project and backed out from that. And then it seems to me that she was doing some thinking as well about what she wanted her film debut to be.
Yeah.
And in what company. And this company is pretty strong.
Well, and interesting the choice, too, because we haven't talked too much about what this is based on, but this is less mystical. It's not vampires, but this is about sort of a peasant person in the 1800s and an aristocratic person coming together in this opera world where everything is very sensual, where cousins are having relations with cousins, nephews with aunts. And so this is going to be, and especially with Tom Ford, we know where he likes to take sensuality in his films.
Yes.
This could be very provocative as well.
I think it's going to be, and you know, I think it'll do well. We'll see. I think she made a good choice.
It's going to look great.
Yes, for
We
sure.
do know that.
Yes, yes.
Well, coming up on the Culture Show, called The New Sound of Nashville. A little bit country, a little bit algorithm. When Walk My Walk is the first AI-generated song to land high on the charts, and it's raising big questions about the soul of music. That and more is next on the Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
I'm Arun Roth. Coming up on GBH's All Things Considered, supporters are rallying around a local federal worker who says the Trump administration targeted her for speaking up about SNAP during the shutdown. A recount for last week's Fall River mayoral election is set for tomorrow. And Sean Ono Lennon talks about the new documentary 1 to 1 about his parents, John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Those stories and all the day's news starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Central Square Theater with Summer 1976. Pulitzer Prize winner David Auburn's play about friendship, memory, and small moments that change our lives forever. Summer 1976 through November 30th, centralsquaretheater.org. And the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, presenting the luminous watercolors of Winslow Homer, together for the first time in a generation, of light and air. Winslow Homer in watercolor is on view now. More at mfa.org. And Atlantic Design Center by Eldridge Lumber and Hardware, committed to helping you achieve your vision for a new kitchen or bathroom and guiding you from design to completion, with showrooms in York and Portland, Maine. AtlanticDesignCTR.com.
Here, local isn't a buzzword, it's our beat. We're on the ground, in your neighborhood, covering the issues that impact you. GBH News 89.7, gbhnews.org, and streaming on the GBH app.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel.
Tell me why it's hard to make arrangements with yourself. Not to repay, but young enough to sell.
We're listening to Tell Me Why because Neil Young has been named one of the new inductees into Boston's Folk Americana Roots Hall of Fame, or FARHOF. He joins a number of other stellar musicians in the Hall's class of 2025, and they include Jackson Browne, Judy Collins, Leonard Cohen, Aretha Franklin, not to mention our own Tom Rush here in New England, Muddy Waters, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Tom Paxton. This is just a wonderful honor, especially that we know it's housed here. For a little bit of backstory, because this is all relatively new. This is housed at the Bach Center's Wang Theater, and if you go up to one of the upper levels, you see a gorgeous museum environment where you see lots of artifacts, including, speaking of Judy Collins, the guitar on which Stephen Stills composed Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, all manner of artifacts that you can see up close and personal that take us back to this rich musical history. And as part of this, not unlike the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the Kennedy Center Honors, they have a big induction ceremony. It'll happen next March, and this year it's a little bit different in that it's open to the public for the inductees who will be attending.
Which I think is fabulous, because you really get a sense of both the history of these musicians and the history of the music, each of the music genres that they're bringing. So I picked out Muddy Waters, musician Muddy Waters. He's known for the blues. And one of his most famous songs was Rolling Stone, which is where, that group got its name. He wrote that in 1950. When I grew up, my parents played all kinds of blues. I grew up in Memphis, and Memphis, to some, is the capital of Mississippi. He's from Mississippi, and he eventually was discovered there, and then he moved to Chicago, which again is also a migration path of black people moving from Mississippi to Chicago, as my parents did. And so his, sensibility about the Delta, bringing that to Chicago and being shaped by that scene is monumental. My favorite song from what my parents used to listen is I Got My Mojo Working.
It brings you back, I would imagine.
It brings me back. Mojo, by the way, is a reference to an ancient African practice of taking a kind of a trick bag that has spirits or items in it that might, lead you somewhere good. He's fabulous and well-deserved place in this company.
He's Muddy Waters.
He's Muddy Waters, yeah.
Yeah, worth noting, among there are sort of non-performer inductees here, and one of them this year is Lomax, Alan Lomax, who went around all over the country making tens of thousands of field recordings, interviews with people. And interestingly, very important in Muddy Waters' life, because he went down trying to record Robert Johnson and found out that Robert Johnson had passed away. But the local said, there's this guy, Muddy Waters, you might want to talk to. He went, recorded him, and that sort of launched in some ways.
It catapulted him.
Kind of cool. But so one of what really stands out to me here, I really love that Sister Rosetta Tharpe is being inducted. Let's hear a little Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and then I'll yammer on about her. Most important thing to point out here is that's not just her singing. That is her guitar soloing, okay? And this is the thing about her. She's unbelievable. She's known as the godmother of rock and roll, but I still don't think she's as widely known as she ought to be. A lot of people look at the early 1950s and a song called Rocket 88, and they say that was the first rock and roll song. But I think you could easily, and people do, make a case for two songs that she did before that. One in the late 30s, one in the 1940s that certainly have all of the elements of rock and roll. And I think about, certainly on the heels of her era, and I love this 1940s period where swing and jump blues and country and gospel are all kind of converging into what will become rock and roll. And she would be up there on stage in like an incredible dress or a beautiful coat with her electric guitar, and she would just shred. And I think what happened in the generation that followed, guitar playing, rock and roll music became very male dominated. But you've got to look back and see this was a woman who influenced everybody from, Eric Clapton to Jeff Beck to, all like Tina Turner. Everybody loved her, including those British invasion rock and rollers. Pete Townsend, who famously from The Who was up there smashing guitars and kind of creating his own little iconic thing. He played the exact same kind of guitar she did. And that was not accidental. They all loved her.
Yeah.
And for my take, I'll highlight Judy Collins, who was born in the 1930s, then in New York, swirling around Bob Dylan and all those folks. She was also pushed her forward in terms of music writing and performing. She is still performing, as we know, and her voice is as gorgeous as her eyes remain just forever gorgeous. Here's Judy Collins performing one of her greatest hits, one of my all-time favorite songs, Send in the Clowns, backed by Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops Orchestra. Lyrics of Stephen Sondheim, they had a great pairing, and that song is just so moving because it's talking about a woman evaluating her very existence and her professional existence. But Judy Collins is always dissecting society, cultural impact, social causes, diversity. This is something that, of course, was at the heart of, and remains at the heart of folk music. So they're still formulating the concert, who will be here and be attending, but it's sure to be another great event just like last year. And as I said, it happens in March, and it will be open to the public. Well, from the legends whose music grew from the soil of lived experience, we turn to a song with no roots and no singer at all. The chart-topping country hit Walk My Walk sounds like a heartbreak ballad, yearning, raw, and moody, but it is AI-generated, a song by the artificial artist Breaking Rust. Let's take a listen.
You can kick rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk. Ain't changing my tone, ain't changing my song. I was born this way, been loud too long. You can hate my style, you can roll your eyes.
So this is not where we're headed. This is where we are. We talked a little while ago on the show, about a month or so ago, about Tilly Norwood, the artificial intelligence actress who is appearing in Hollywood, and now we have Breaking Rust, which, if you're hard-pressed, you're not going to be able to listen to this and know that this is all generated by an algorithm. We've featured Breaking Rust's picture on our YouTube stream and here at the library.
In air quotes.
Exactly. This is a generated artist, and 3 million plus streams, emerged on Instagram last month, and is taking hold as an actual personality.
Yeah, because this kind of stuff is really just taking me out. This one, and also as we'll talk about, I guess it's Zania Monet, same thing, generated singer, because the person that created her doesn't sing. And
yeah, we'll get to that.
You know.
Because there's a little more nuance to that one.
Yeah, I would agree.
But this is just crazy to me. And we've just come off all these people that, as you say, put their heart and soul in the music and created it from them, their life experience. And now this is just made up.
Yeah, and also, presumably and almost certainly, some of the data that led to the creation of a song like this and all of the generative AI stuff was likely some of those great stars and all of the music that they've made, right? It all gets kind of sucked up into the machine learning. Well, yeah, stolen.
Well, so let's get into let's get into this ripple that Callie was just foreshadowing, because Walk My Way isn't the only AI act climbing the charts right now. Meet Zania Monet, an R&B sensation who also doesn't exist and yet still just scored, well, exist as a person, that is, and yet just still scored a record deal. It says here her song, but really it's it.
Yeah,
because we're talking about software and an algorithm. Its song is How Was I Supposed to Know? And it's rewriting what it means to make music. Let's hear some of this one.
Up above my head.
Nope, that's certainly not AI.
It's so good, we just had to play it again.
Exactly. Again, it's actually a good contrast. So do we have that sound?
Did her best, but she can't teach what it feels like when a father speaks. So I took every I love you too deep, even when they only
So again, what we were just hearing was artificially generated. There is not a real person behind it.
So,
sort of.
Well,
not.
yes.
I think in terms of the voice.
Yes,
that's
in
what I was
terms of
talking
the
about.
voice,
Callie
yes.
can explain the
So
rest.
Talisha Nikki Jones is behind. We just had the photograph of what you said. I don't know how to pronounce it. Zanaya Monet, the songstress. So she writes poetry. So she taught herself AI 4 months ago, just so we're on the same page, created the avatar that you see as the singer, then put prompts into ChatGPT and said, give me an R&B, a slow version, an upbeat, this and that, tried different things, landed, those are her words, Nikki Jones's words, but she can't sing. So the computer created everything else.
Now,
so she insists this is real, even though she's using AI.
Which I think is at least to a certain extent a fair point. So I want to draw, to me, while these are very similar stories, there are some important distinctions. So one is in this country song that we're talking about, the Breaking Rust thing, there's a good piece on NPR with a country music writer who tried to get to the bottom of who made this song. And there's not the same kind of transparency. So, he goes on Spotify, you can see who the song artist is. That's a company called Deaf Beats AI. He tried to find out information from Deaf Beats AI and had a hard time doing so. So in the case of the Breaking Rust situation, there's not as much transparency going on. To me, while they're using the same tools, it's very different than somebody who's out front saying, listen, all I know how to do is write poetry. I'm a lyricist. But I mean, in some ways, if you go way back through music history, there's tons of people who were part of songwriting partnerships who were just the lyricist.
Right.
Now, they had to work with another human who could write the music. But in this case, they have a tool at their disposal, which is maybe not human, but is at least a tool that they are using. They are putting something into it. She is saying that she sees this avatar, this AI artist, as an extension of herself.
Well, let's hear from her. Here's the creator behind the AI artist Zanaya Monet. This is Talisha Nikki Jones speaking with CBS Mornings amid the controversy regarding the rise of this AI-generated music.
Zanaya is an extension of me, so I look at her as a real person. But you can't sing. So she's not a real, in that sense, she's not a real person. What do you say to people that say that you seem to have circumvented, taken a shortcut? I wouldn't call it a shortcut because I still put in the work. And anytime something new comes about and it challenges the norm and challenges what we're used to, you're going to get strong reactions behind it. And I just feel like AI is the new era that we're in. And I look at it as a tool, as an instrument, utilize it.
And this has just come to the tune of a $3 million deal.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that. 4 months ago, she could not do ChatGPT. And now she has a $3 million deal. Now, some people didn't bid or offer her a contract because there are copyright lawsuits, to your point, Edgar, against Suno, the platform she used to create the music. So maybe some part of this could blow up. But, half of $3 million is still pretty good for 4 months of work. I'm saying.
Absolutely.
It's just kind of scary to me.
But I think that as I've been saying on this show, this is here. The genie is out of the bottle. This is not going back. She was very clever to figure this out at the very beginning, and for her transparency. So at least she gets herself out there as a poet and as a songwriter, and she can get credit for that. And I also think that as a studio see people like, again, I keep saying people, as things like Breaking Rust, then they realize that they don't have to pay these huge exorbitant royalties. And how is the performance going to happen if with a hologram, if they decide to send Breaking Rust out on tour? I mean, it just changes all of the engineering and the mechanics around the music industry and how much money is put up for an artist. And of course, we're just talking about the successful artists because by and large, people don't make a lot of money. But this, especially for the people who don't make a lot of money, this changes the game even more. It's going to be even harder now to push forward in this industry when you have an entire sector that has just opened up because somebody can find success within 4 months because of their keystrokes.
And let's not forget, again, underscoring Edgar's point, somebody made those beats. See all the stuff that she calls up on the prompt?
Sure.
Somebody made that, the music bed. Those are human people.
Which is, to me, with generative AI, is the underlying issue, is the fact that a lot of this stuff is basically been stolen, to use your word, to train these machines, and that is what I have an issue. Using it as a tool, I don't know that any of us know how it's going to work. When in whatever it is, 6 months or a year or 5 years, when 90% of the music that is out there streaming is being generated by AI,
God, I hope not.
we don't know if people are just going to go, you know what, this kind of all sounds the same. I like my artists real. I mean, you don't know. We have to run the experiment. We're in it. The experiment is being run. We're part of it.
And you know that they're going to just program to us. So if you love Broadway show tunes, you're going to start hearing all of these show tunes-esque music, and you won't be able to discern. And Breaking Rust, if we're wearing headphones right now, which are pretty decent, so there you can hear it a little bit. That it's AI. It's not quite. It doesn't sound quite right, but within 3 or 4 months they will have that down,
Absolutely.
and we'll have no way to detect all of this. And I don't know that they can keep up with the copyright laws. Tennessee is certainly trying to do this. Speaking of Breaking Rust, a quote-unquote country artist, Tennessee is really coming down hard on this because they see how it's going to affect their major economy in Tennessee. But of course, we'll keep following this. But this isn't how everybody feels about it, because while most actors are trying to keep AI at arm's length, Michael Caine and Matthew McConaughey are turning it up to 11, partnering with 11 Labs. It's the company behind a new wave of AI voice technology, which can now recreate their unmistakable voices for all manner of projects, from ads to audiobooks. So if you need a little reminder of why people love their voices so much, here's Matthew McConaughey from Dazed and Confused.
All right.
And a little bit from Michael Caine in The Italian Job.
3, 2, 1, go. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
So what I didn't realize is they're the latest in this huge string of actors who have done this. Everybody from Judi Dench to, I guess it's the estates of Maya Angelou and Judy Garland, and Liza Minnelli is still alive, but she's turned over to it. My take is that they can't beat him, so join him.
Well, I'm sure that's their take, because that's a check at the end of the day. But, so not stolen, but, in some way it's a kind of appropriation that makes me angry, because I'll just read this quote from Michael Caine saying, 11 labs, we can preserve and share voices, not just mine, but anyone's. No, it's not anyone's.
Yeah.
It's certain people, right? And so now you have sold out all the other actors with real voices, trying to use their real voices, because 11 Labs, and who can blame them? They're making billions of dollars here, saying, hey, we can license this and use this over and over again, and they'll use Caine's voice for narrating things, for like books and other kinds of projects. Great for Michael Caine and Matthew McConaughey, but as one commenter said, they just messed up the rest of us. They made it hard for us.
I mean, this is a tricky situation. As you said, Jared, it's a little bit, you're looking at the landscape and saying, if you can't beat them, join them. The one thing I will say is that at least what 11 Labs is doing is, in a narrow scope, they're being transparent. and Michael Caine, whatever he wants to do with him. The fact that he's the one making that decision, and at least in the cases of these folks who have passed away, it is their estate, that this has been worked out with, who's the people who are charged with their legacy. So it is being done on the up and up in a legal way. The other point, which is the one you make, Callie, which is, what does this mean for, every job that Michael Caine's voice gets is a job that some living, breathing actor does not get. That's a trickier question.
And I want to point out that McConaughey invested in the company.
Yes.
So he's getting double money.
But he's not. He has not lent his voice. So they call this their Iconic Voices Marketplace. He has not lent his voice fully to the Iconic Marketplace. He's using that, at least yet, he's using them to do they're translating his newsletter into Spanish using AI, right? So that he can grow his audience. I presume eventually he will also join the Iconic Voices Marketplace. But right now, you can't make a deal to buy AI Matthew McConaughey.
Well, so I have two thoughts about this. One, if you're the celebrities like Morgan Freeman, who's been very outspoken about this. He is also a celebrity with a very distinctive voice who is saying that he's practically hiring lawyers on a daily basis to counter all of the people who are using his voice. At some point, you just get exasperated and you do join them. That's what I meant about that, because they're going to, as we're talking about with all of these issues, whether it's a singer or a piece of art, they are training their AI on all of these people already. And again, it's out. The genie is out of the bottle on this one. So ultimately, I see somebody like Morgan Freeman, as frustrated as he has and trying to maintain his artistic integrity. How can you not join at the end of the day, because you're going to lose it? But I also think the artistry is going to be lost. I'm new to audiobooks. I hadn't really listened to them much until this year. I started in a really bad place because it was really, really good. I started with Meryl Streep reading Tom Lake.
Oh, wow.
You have to, so now every successive audiobook has to reach that level. But I made me realize what amazing craft and art there is to reading these audiobooks. But now you know they will just take Michael Caine's voice and they will put the input in, and the voice, whatever the algorithm decides, that will be the inflection for reading the audiobook, and it won't be this actor bringing his actor role to it.
Absolutely. And
so I have a question for you. What did all those people stand in line for with picket signs for weeks on end to protect if they're going to do this?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
You're talking about the SAG-AFTRA strike. Yeah.
I'm thinking about what you were saying about audiobooks. I mean, it is not hard to imagine not long from now, there's going to be a service out there where you pick your book and then you get a drop down and you pick whichever famous person's voice you want to hear read you that book. It's coming. Like, that's where we're going to be.
Well, I was also thinking, because I have a friend who wrote a book, and she is friends with a very acclaimed Hollywood actress, and she really wanted that actress to read her book, and the actress said, I can't. It takes too long to do this. I can't devote that amount of time. So there are myriad reasons this is just going to change the entire industry, not to mention the amount that the actress would need to be paid, which you don't have to do because you've already got the contract. It's just... This is, again, where we are.
At the very least, there ought to be transparency. Let's just put that on the table.
Fair including enough. With the Hollywood films,
that's what I'm
which
saying.
They're not doing.
Yeah.
Coming up, how an auction turned Bob Ross's happy little trees into money trees for public media. That and more is next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
Astronauts know when they're tethered to the space station floating in space that a lot can go wrong.
I felt something cold and wet on the back of my head. Water. There shouldn't be any reason why water is present inside the spacesuit.
Living and working at the International Space Station, next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Boston Ballet, presenting The Nutcracker. This holiday tradition mesmerizes audiences of all ages with beloved characters and Tchaikovsky's memorable score. On stage starting November 28th. Official tickets at bostonballet.org. And Gordon College, presenting Gordon's Christmas Gala, a holiday celebration of instrumental ensembles and carol sings. December 3rd, 5th, and 6th. Ticket information at gordongala.com. And Mass General Brigham Health Plan, providing helpful digital tools, world-class providers, and coverage that help you live in the moment. More at massgeneralbrighamhealthplan.org.
Your trusted local news, covering the stories that matter to you. Stay informed and stay connected on the GBH News YouTube channel. Subscribe and watch on your phone, tablet, or smart TV. GBH News, what matters to you.
I'm Jared Bowen, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming on our 2 centuries in circulation. The penny is finally making a change of its own. The federal government has stopped making sense. The U.S. Mint has pressed its... I mean that. It just stopped making...
Yeah, let's hear for that. Yes.
Thank you. We're here all week. The U.S. Mint has pressed its last 1-cent coin, closing the book on a piece of pocket-sized history that's long symbolized thrift and luck. And speaking of not making sense, we're getting 2 narratives about this. One, that it's not going to change anything because there are so many pennies out in circulation, but stores and restaurants like McDonald's are already stepping forward and saying we have a problem here because we can't make change.
Exactly. In 2020, I did a commentary about the shortage of change and how banks were actually spending more. And other, nickels and dimes. It cost $57 million to make these 4 cents a piece pennies. So they cost nearly 4 cents to make.
3.6 cents to make each penny.
So it makes sense. I know, but I'm nostalgic about it.
3.69 cents. Okay, a couple things though. So it also costs more than a nickel to make each nickel. So is the nickel on the chopping block?
Oh, stop
too?
it, Edgar.
I'm just saying.
Nobody talked about nickels. Just leave it out of the
Not
conversation.
yet. They're coming for the nickel next. It's a
There's
slippery
always
slope.
people like you pushing something.
I think Callie's coming for you.
So I think one thing that's interesting here is, so there's been an effort for a long time, and actually, it does make a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense to get rid of this. A couple things. One, it is not the first time we've gotten rid of a coin. We used to have a halfpenny in the U.S., the hay penny,
That
from
was 1,000 years
1793 to 1857. We had it for a long time. They got rid of that. But I will say this. So what's happened here is a little bit of a half measure, and it's interesting because it's what we're seeing happen with our government a lot right now, right? Which is that this was done by presidential action. He said, let's just stop making it. But there is a bill that's been kicking around Congress for a while that would not only stop that, but then the way that this bill would work, first of all, it would be a law. They would make all cash transactions have to be rounded to the nearest 5 cents, either up or down.
Right.
And then in electric transfers, you can keep the 1 cent denomination. So that makes a little more sense because it works together. So we'll see if that ever makes it past Congress, but that would be the more holistic approach. But for now, nothing does change in so much as you can still use and spend pennies.
Well, we've gotten a couple of opinions here, but you recently did a segment for the Curiosity Desk. Should we hear what people had to say?
Yeah, let's hear a little bit about this. They're going to eliminate the penny. How do you feel about that?
Oh, thank God.
Well, you are very excited about it.
I want it gone. Can't find a penny on the ground anymore in this economy.
The loss of the penny makes sense because it really costs too much to make for its value.
Do you think that's where the term spend money to make money comes from?
It could be. It could be.
I don't know. I think it might be time to get rid of the penny. Let's see.
If it costs 4 cents to make all of those and they're only worth 1 cent, we're lost. We're kind of lost.
So people are all over the place.
Yeah.
And I guess, I keep recognizing that everything changes. We talk about this. Architecture changes, so cities change.
Yeah.
Fashion changes. People evolve in their careers. They change and go away. And so I guess this has to happen. And it's not like we can't not hold on to our pennies, but I can't remember the last time that I actually had a cash transaction. So I guess this is how it's supposed to be. Sorry, Alexander Hamilton, because he had a lot to do with this.
Yeah. But he got a musical out of it.
Yeah. For people who don't know, he was behind the Coinage Act.
Yeah, he's getting a lot more attention these days.
That put this all into play. Well, while the penny may have lost its shine, another nostalgic treasure is on the rise, the art of Bob Ross. His happy little trees are now fetching some not-so-little prices. We talked about this not too long ago on the show. This is deeply impactful to us here on NPR and our PBS colleagues because of the rescission bill where $1.1 billion was removed from public media. The estate of Bob Ross, the company that manages his enterprise and all of his holdings, now stepped forward and donated a number of paintings to American public television that could be auctioned. And at one point, they didn't go for very much. At one point, he was kind of marginalized as not a real artist, but something has changed. And I think between people reevaluating him as an artist and people also wanting to support public media, his paintings, which again weren't going for all that much, the highest one in this auction of 3 pieces just sold for $318,000. So they netted about $600,000. And this is the first of about 30 that'll go up for auction, including one here in Boston in the coming year.
Well, I think some part, nostalgia plays some part in this as well, because, he died in 1995. So, there's a finite number. That's it. Yeah. So I think that also increases interest as people have become more enamored of his work and so much of it is about serenity, and people need some peace. Yeah. I'm not kidding.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
You want some peace.
100%. Yeah.
And so it's you can just look at the piece at his pieces, and it just takes you there.
The real question is, after all of these paintings are sold and they've made all this money for stations and they want to make a little more, are they going to sell his voice to 11 Labs in the iconic voice marketplace
Could be.
and then donate those proceeds?
Yes.
No, I mean, I think this is great. I'm not surprised. I think we talked about this a little bit here, right? The estimates we all felt were low on that, so I don't think we're surprised that these paintings went for more. I think it's actually going to be interesting to watch this. I think it's very smart of them to do this bit by bit by bit. So these are the first 3 paintings, and a couple more are going to come up. And as you get closer to the end of these 30 or so that are going to be auctioned off,
I think you're going to see the prices
I agree.
going up and up and up.
I think so. And also, it's revealed a little bit about his process. For each of the paintings we saw on television, he created 3, actually. There was a preparatory one, then there's the one he created in the studio, and then there's the one that he went back and sort of refined for a final version. All the ones that are being auctioned are those that we actually saw created on air. So not only are you buying a piece of art by Bob Ross, but you're also buying a piece of television history. And back to his very calm voice, I didn't realize this too. This has been reported out that he, after leaving the military, vowed that he would never yell again.
Wow.
And so this is so much why he has, as I realize I'm calming my voice down right now in homage to Bob Ross, but that's why he had the tone that he had. Well, the storm clouds are gathering. That means it's time for our lightning round. These are the stories that caught our attention this week. Callie, what's yours?
There is a sequel to A Different World. Yay!
Yes!
And it's going to bring back a whole new cast. It centers on Deborah Wayne. That'd be the daughter of Hillman College's Dwayne Wayne and Whitley Gilbert, if you followed the
Power
series.
couple, if there ever was one.
That's right. And so she returns to Hillman as a freshman and finds she's struggling against that reputation of both her parents until she finds her own way. So they have a great cast. They're bringing back a lot of people behind the scene, similar to what we talked about with The Devil Wears Prada, who were on the original staff, the editorial staff. So that should help, with that consistency. And as far as I know, they haven't picked out who's going to sing the song because the last person was Aretha Franklin. Ooh. So we get somebody new.
So does this come next year?
They start shooting it in February. I'm not quite sure when it comes.
They might turn it around.
Yeah.
Between talking about this, Devil Wears Prada, and the Adele Tom Ford movie, it seems that everybody just wants 2025 to be over so we can start thinking about 2026.
Let's go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Edgar, what's yours?
A study, right, which says you were just talking about calm and serenity. Well, a new study suggests if you're feeling a little bit stressed, maybe you should visit a museum. And of course, this isn't the first of its type, and it hasn't been peer-reviewed yet, but I really like this one. So King's College in London, in this study, they took 50 volunteers, and they split them into 2 groups. One group went into a museum and looked at masterworks from Manet, Vincent van Gogh, Paul Gauguin, in the museum setting. The second group, they kind of put in a non-museum setting, and they looked at reproductions of the same painting. Well, they did, they had them all hooked up to heart monitors, and they took their saliva samples and stuff, and they found that the group that was in the museum had an average of 22% their cortisol levels fell, where the other group it did not. So you saw a real calming effect across the board in a whole bunch of markers for those who were in the museum setting looking at beautiful masterworks.
I love that. Well, yeah, speaking of museums, my story, I've been watching this for a long time because it's been in play for a long time, but the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art has finally announced its opening date, which will be in September of 2026. So the Lucas of the Lucas Museum is, of course, George Lucas, who is a very extraordinarily wealthy man, wealthy enough to be able to build this museum that has some 40,000 objects. It'll be 300,000 square feet. It was going to be in San Francisco, then it was going to be in Chicago. They finally built it out in Los Angeles. If you look at it, you would see that it takes the form of a spaceship. Yeah. And because this is an independent museum, he has crafted it in his vision, basically, along with his wife, Melody Hobson. And this is everything from fine art, and they have a lot of fine art. In fact, people might remember a few years ago, they scooped up a Norman Rockwell painting in the Berkshire Museum auction that a lot of people were upset about because it'll be leaving New England, but Frida Kahlo, John Singer Sargent, Rockwell, but also movie posters and comic books. So it's all manner of art that tells our stories as Americans, and then you can imagine, because it's George Lucas, there'll be a lot of his own archives that come to the fore. So this is going to be a major new American museum, and we finally know when it's happening. It's too bad it's not here on the East Coast, which would make it a little easier for us, but it's a pretty cool building if you look at it. It's entirely new and different.
It's going to be a big tourist place.
It is. Well, that is all for this edition of The Culture Show. You can tune in Monday for Serge Tankian, frontman of System of a Down, who has a new exhibition of paintings at the Armenian Museum of America in Watertown, and the new director of the Institute of Contemporary Art, the ICA, Nora Burnett Abrams, joins me. Callie, what's coming up on Under the Radar this weekend?
I have my regional roundtable, and there's a lot of great stories, including how a Vermont man bought a Jeffrey Epstein address book. It's verified. side on eBay. And it's also the final installment of our Unbound Pages, our series on the anti-book banning movement, and this is about banned book clubs of people who read banned books.
Which will we be paying attention to with the Curiosity Desk?
Well, we new episode this week all about speed bumps and speed humps. Here in the city of Boston in recent years, they're in the process of putting 2,000 new speed bumps in. Other communities like Medford and Somerville, they're going up by the dozen. So if you feel like you're going over them more often, you probably are. And we get into why they're there, how they work, whether they're good or not. Pretty good episode. And of course, we also have our episode where we talk to people about the demise of the penny. So worth checking out.
And just a reminder that the three of us will be back here on Wednesday, December 17th for our next Wednesday watch party. This month, first we started off with Coming to America. A little brain fart there. Then we went to Back to the Future, if I could just go back to the future. And now we're going to be talking about A Christmas Carol this month. We're talking about all of them. So call in that day or come join us here at the library to weigh in on your favorite version of A Christmas Carol and why. Thanks today to our engineer, Bill Piacitelli, and Culture Show intern, Avery Morin, the BPL technical and logistics crew, Maddie Geyer, Bill Francis, Sandra Lopez-Burke, Juan Jose Cadena, Chris Hanks, Pat Lally, and Olivia Corshio. Thanks to Lennox Hotel and the Newsfeed Cafe. Thank you to everyone who came down here to see us at the library today. We love seeing you and for laughing at my jokes. Thank you for being with us today. I'm Jared Bowen. Have an art-filled weekend.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's art and culture programming.
Where's Mary? Where is she? Where is she? She's just about to close up the library!
Mozart's 40th Symphony with Charles Mackerras and the Prague Chamber Orchestra. I'm Jamie Kamak here today for Greg Farisi, and this is Classical Radio Boston.
Support for WCRB comes from you and the Museum of Science, where their fun for all ages seasonal exhibit All Aboard Trains at Science Park returns November 22nd, featuring trains, interactives, and magic. More at mos.org/engine. Tonight on GBH2, catch the classic Shakespearean comedy of mistaken identity that tells the romantic misadventures of twins Sebastian and Viola after they survive a shipwreck. Watch Great Performances, 12th Night, tonight at 9 on GBH2.
Classical Radio Boston is WCRB-FM 99.5 HD1 Lowell, Boston, WGBH-FM HD2 Boston, WCAI-FM HD2 Woods Hole, WJMF-FM Smithfield, Providence, and at